Ada for kicking out my girlfriend's sister and her kids out of my flat after my GF gave her the keys. People around me are saying I am an but I need the perspective of uninvolved people. My long-term girlfriend has my apartment keys, as I have hers. Only unspoken until now but always respected rule was, if you need to go to the other place, just send a text, hey going to your place. Doesn't matter if the other is at home or even responds. Just simply to tell the other you will be at their place. I was supposed to be away 700 kilometers from home for 2 weeks for work-related stuff, but 4 days in and our instructor got into an accident. Work tried to find another one, but no such luck on very short notice. They decided at like 10 p.m. to get us the first flight home the next day at like 6 a.m., pay us the overtime and the next day at home, then resume our normal work schedule. So I get home the next day at like 9 a.m., send a text to my girlfriend to tell her I am back. Getting to my door, I am very confused hearing children screaming inside since none of the people who have my keys have low kids like that, my brother and my girlfriend. I thought I got squatters or something. Opening the door and I see my girlfriend's sister's kid running around after a shower, putting water everywhere. Plates of half-finished ravioli on my living room ground. Their suitcases opened in the entrance. I get inside and see the husband on my couch trying to hook up my PS2, that he must have digged out in my storage room. Getting into a verbal argument with him trying to understand why the fuck they are here. Said my girlfriend told them they could get my flat for 2 weeks while I was gone, they wanted to visit the city for a bit, go to the beach. My girlfriend sent me a text while I was arguing, telling me, oh okay, by the way my sis fam, is at your flat. I admit I blew up on him and the sis who left my bedroom in the meantime. Told them to leave immediately. They argued quite a bit, my girlfriend called her sis, then sis put up the speaker so we could all hear, and she said I was embarrassing her, that she told them they could use my place for a while. I threatened to call the police, also asked my brothers to come. They left while cursing me to their children, telling that holidays are over because the mean little sister's boyfriend cast us out. I have now all of my girlfriend family on my back, and even some of my own family, saying I could have stayed with at my girlfriend so the kids could have some vacations. Also, they have read my doctor prescription papers, I put them in a specific order, and it was not the same, and obviously took some of my prescribed meds, opened a box of benzodiazepine. Ada for making them leave. We pretty much stopped talking about anything else with my girlfriend. I feel like I am being gaslighted. I would never invite people to her apartment like that, especially without telling her. It seems so disrespectful. Am I going insane? Stories number 2. I, F24, and my BF, M25, had a trip planned and the day before the trip he stops messaging me and then doesn't show up the next day to leave. Can you tell me what to do so I don't lose my mind? Hi. This is my first post, because I need people to tell me what to think right now. My BF and I have been dating for a little over 6 months, and we have both been really busy with work and his dad has recently been sick so we haven't gotten to see each other as often these last 5 to 6 weeks. So about a month ago we decided to plan a vacation during a national holiday that is going on right now. We both are early in our careers and don't make much but we decided to use a bit of savings and fly to a nearby country and have a beach vacation, stay in some hotels, swim and the lot. We've both been so excited for this trip. He's planned most of the general stuff, which days and times we should fly, he booked all the hotels, we were going to go back and forth between some islands, and messaging me almost every day this week with weather updates and things we could do. I have been super busy with work but cut out some time earlier this week to make a more in-depth schedule so we could make the most out of our vacation and to book some stuff for us to do to ensure we would have tickets. It was all going perfectly, we were both clearly excited and had spent a good amount of money. I know he already spent at least $1,000 booking stuff, so he was very invested. Plus he is the one who initially came up with the plan and invited me. Here's where the story turns. Keep in mind our flight is at 9:10 this morning, the 30th. So we had loose plans to meet near my street and get a taxi at 7:30, yesterday the 29th I have Wi-Fi issues at my apartment, so I don't get a "good morning" message. When we first started dating I kind of found these a bit annoying but I've grown to love them so much, and I know it means a lot to him that I say good morning back so I try my best to respond within a few hours, so I go to a coffee shop and see that he hasn't messaged me, which I find a little weird but I take the opportunity to be the one to say good morning first. Something I very rarely get to do since he works a 9 to 5 and I'm remote, and I get to work on my latest project and don't think too much of it. Then a little later I send him the latest ideas for our trip and ask if he's bringing any nicer clothes if we want to do a slightly fancier dinner one night. No response. This man is always on his phone, he responds so fast sometimes it gives me whiplash and it's been hours and nothing. But I know he's at work and I feel a little crazy for even thinking anything of it. I accidentally leave him for hours sometimes because I'm not as attached to my phone, so it's not a big deal if he doesn't respond quickly, but it is weird for him. A few hours later I send him a booking confirmation. No response. I finish my work and go home. Then 5:30 rolls around, and I know he should be off work. I message him again and no response. An hour later I message again because I'm getting worried he isn't messaging back the night before our flight. No response. I call him a couple times and he doesn't pick up, so by 7:30 I'm stressing out, and I walk over to his apartment, a 5-minute walk from mine. His bike is outside his door, but I knock for 20-ish min, and no response. I'm trying to come up with excuses. Maybe he had to work super late. He's at dinner. His phone is dead or broken. I go home and just pack and go to sleep. This morning still nothing. We plan to leave at 7:30, so I get ready as I would have and try calling him a few times. At 7:30 I go out to the street corner where we normally have met before and wait. To get to the airport in time to check in we have to leave by 8 o'clock at the absolute latest. I message and call him the whole time and nothing. At 8:01 I head to his apartment again. I'm pounding on the door, calling him, there is nothing, no response. His shoes are there that I can see, his bike outside unmoved from the day before. We have missed our flight, so I request a refund on the site while literally sitting against his door. I miraculously got the refund, by the way, and I cancel any bookings I made, all of which went through. So I'm super sad about missing our vacation, but I want to emphasize that I'm not mad about the money, I was able to get it back. I'm scared at this point. He's been the perfect boyfriend, he brought flowers to my place when I got sick, he is always on time to pick me up for our dates, he plans things for us, we've never fought, I don't even think I've ever seen him annoyed with me, and I'm super annoying. The last time I saw him, the 24th. His last words to me were, I love you, like 3 times, and then when I left me messaged that he loved being with me, and then later I got a good night message. Cut to today and suddenly it's radio silence. Nothing. I'm crying at this point and accept that he's probably not home or I would have heard him, so I go home and just cry and get pizza and wine and message him approximate 100 million times, and try to call and nothing. I haven't met his family yet, so I don't have their contacts. I've met a couple of his friends and workmates in passing but didn't think to get any of their numbers. Why would I? I know the buildings where he works but not where his office is or the name of the company. It's not my native language and names are really hard for me to remember, so he might have told me but I forgot if he did. My point is that I have no way of contacting him. If he is in the hospital or something, no one is going to think to call me. It's the evening of the 30th as I'm tying this. I recently got back from his apartment again and his bike hasn't moved. I taped a message to his door to call me, and my contact info for anyone who goes to his apartment in case someone else might know what happened. I can't think of anything else to do and I'm terrified and crying constantly thinking the worst. I'm trying to think of what could possibly be happening. He takes his bike everywhere but it's outside his apartment unmoved. He spent a lot of money on tickets for this trip and then didn't show. Where I live you need your phone to use taxis and metros and such, and there are charging ports and repair shops everywhere, so even if his phone died the 29th or broke it would be fine by now. My best idea is that there was some sort of family emergency. Maybe with his dad who is sick, that he had to go early on the 29th to see them, and after he got there he lost his phone and has been super crazy with family stuff that he hasn't had the bandwidth to go get a new phone. He also just has my contacts saved and doesn't have my number memorized. We use WeChat, so he wouldn't be able to contact me on another phone. I've cried more today than in the past year. Please tell me other things I can try, or other excuses for why he isn't responding and didn't go on the trip. I'm so scared. When I was at his apartment door tonight all I could think is, what if he fell and hit his head and he's on the other side of this door dead, but I'm not about to go full crazy and call the cops. Though I'm considering it at this point. Because the image won't leave my head and something is wrong, I can feel it. Please help me. Edit. Thanks for telling me I'm not overreacting. This was what I needed to actually try to contact the cops. Comments. Commenter 1. Definitely call the cops. This is very worrying. I would be concerned about his safety well-being. You are not overreacting. Have them do a wellness check. Commenter 2. Why aren't you calling the police? Call them. Reply, okay, thanks, I really didn't know if I was overreacting. Commenter 3. If Chinese is not your first language, I'd also look into contacting the embassy for your country. Got the impression you were foreign. They may have resources to help you get translations when contacting the police. I really hope that he's safe and that you're doing as okay as you can be in this situation. You are not overreacting in the slightest. I would be a mess, and so would most of my loved ones if something like this happened. Trust your gut. Please don't prioritize updating Reddit. Your emotions and both of your well-being should matter more. Thinking of you guys. Reply, thanks so much. So many people have just been replying, why haven't you gone sooner? But Chinese is very much not my first language, and when I'm tired upset I'm even worse. But I was thankfully able to get by, thanks for the kind words. It's really helping me wind down from the craziness. Update, he's not dead. Okay, so it's been a crazy night. For everyone asking why I hadn't already gone to the cops, it had only been a day and a half and I live in a very safe place, so I didn't want to overreact. People have always told me I blow stuff up, so I'm very cautious about it now. I know I probably should have gone earlier though. Anyway, I left my house and tried to find a police station, but all I could find were traffic violation stations, so I called in even though I have the speech capabilities of an 11-year-old in Chinese, and told them what was going on. There was nice woman on the phone and she was very helpful and patient and sent over some officers to meet me and help me. They immediately take my case very seriously, but I still have the problem of not really having much info to give them. They asked if I had a picture of his ID and I was like, no. And so it took them a long time to find his record in the system. They were ready to go with me to do a house check, but then they got an update on the system and asked if I was okay going with them to the station, and I of course was. So I get there and they ask me a few more questions like if we were fighting, no we weren't, etc. Then the officers who I'm talking to get a bit nervous and one types something into his phone and shows me a translation, and it says, your boyfriend was arrested 2 days ago. I felt so many emotions and I'm still reeling. I barely slept last night and I have been worried sick and crying all day, and so I'm relieved that he's fine, he's not dead or hurt or sick or in a coma or something. But at the same time he's fucking arrested. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, quite frankly. They couldn't tell me why he was arrested because the case isn't closed, but they took down my number and said they'd call me. But yeah. I'm so exhausted from this whole ordeal, since I know people will ask, he's a great guy, a very nice person. He does, however, have very little regard for rules and regulations. He is an asshole driver on his bike and often cuts off cars. Also, he's not an angry person ever, but I can kind of seeing him getting in a fight if there's a good reason, at least in his own mind. I know he once got in an altercation with someone early in our relationship for cursing out his mother, but both of those mean you are held in custody until they figure out the case. If it's just a minor traffic violation or a fight, he'll be out in a few days, and probably pay a fine. If it's something worse, well then maybe I shouldn't be seeing him anyway. Anyway, thanks for everyone who commented, and made me feel like I wasn't overreacting or being a crazy girlfriend. I'll update if I ever find out what he did. TLDR, he's not dead, he was arrested 2 days ago and his case is still ongoing. Update, the more I think about it, he had to have been arrested early on Tuesday. So probably not a fight or anything, maybe something he was caught on camera for. Edit, when I say he has little regard for rules I mean compared to me, it's very typical here. Bikes are illegal in this city, so I'm told, and yet I almost get hit by one daily. Jaywalking is illegal and yet he and everyone else does it all the time. Also, you can get held in custody for very minor things, which is why I haven't blacklisted him quite yet. Like once a guy yelled slurs at a group of my friends and called my black friend the N-word and the police detained him for 3 days for disturbing the peace. Not saying my BF would do that, but you can get detained for parking tickets. Comments. Commenter 1. This post has made me realize how rare it is that anything leaks from China onto the English-speaking internet. Reply, haha yeah, I'm originally from America, so this might not be a good thing, but one of my first thoughts when I started to truly spiral was, let's ask Reddit. Commenter 2. Early in our relationship, my husband got pulled over, in a small town in Kansas, for a rolling stop at a stop sign. He had some unpaid parking tickets from years before, so they arrested him. Luckily he was able to get them cleared up, and he was able to get word to me, and was out in a couple days. I hope you have the same kind of luck with your boyfriend, and it's something that can get cleared up quickly. The timing really sucks, though, and I'm sorry you missed your trip. Your boyfriend will really need to make it up to you. Commenter 3. It'll probably be alright, honestly, but it's hard when someone you care about is going through something like this, and you're left feeling lost and a bit bewildered, and I suspect many of us have felt that way at some point, facing an unexpected crisis, so maybe try to be kind to yourself and just focus on taking things one day at a time, because, really, there's not much else you can do right now, is there? Reply, thanks, yeah it's been stressful. But I'm also just glad he's okay. I'm just typing this until I get tired enough to go to sleep at this point. Stories number 3. Aita for not kicking my sister out of the house my parents bought for us for my girlfriend. 30M been dating my girlfriend, 29F, let's call her Leah, for a little over 2 years. About 3 months ago we talked about moving in together. I suggested we rent an apartment together and live there. But my insisted she move into the house that I live in. For context, the house I live in is pretty much like a mansion. Multiple bedrooms, a pool, a huge garden area. My parents bought this house for me and my sister, 25F, let's call her Lily, when they went abroad. The plan was for us to live here until we got married and that my parents would move back in when they retire and it would be our family house to visit during holidays. Until last year me and my sister used to live here but then she moved in with her fiancé. I told her that she is welcome to move back in if she ever had any problems in the future. Her stuff and my parents' stuff are still here so this is still our family house and not mine. So I told my GF that we choose to live here together then she has to deal with my sister or parents moving in here whenever they want and if she's uncomfortable with that then we have to move out. And I also told her that if we get married we certainly will not stay in this house. She agreed and moved in 3 months ago. About a month ago I got a call from Lily from an unknown number crying in the middle of the night and asked me to come get her. I found her sitting on the pavement next to the road with an injury on her forehead, bleeding and a split lip and took her hospital. I found out that her fiancé was having an affair and when she confronted him and broke off the engagement, he got violent and hit her and she ran out of the house in panic. I had her move back in with me and we filed a complaint against her ex but he only got a month in prison because it wasn't that serious according to the cops and judge and a restraining order. Now my girlfriend is going off on me about how can I let my sister move back into our house without consulting her and I reminding her again that this wasn't our house and that my sister is in a very bad situation. I told my parents about this and they said they will move back in to take care of my sister so that me and Leah don't have to take responsibility for my sister. But it'll take at least 2 months for my parents move back here because my father has a health condition, does not wish to disclose for personal reasons, which requires for him to be on regular checkups and treatment so it'll take time for them to transfer his reports to a hospital here and find a doctor who can treat him. My parents requested me to stay with my sister until they got back because her ex would be already out of the prison by then and seriously neither me nor my parents want anything to happen. So I talked to my GF about it and told her that we have to move out of this house in 2 months. She refused and said that this is our house and that my sister is one who has to leave. I reminded her again of our deal when we moved in but she refused to budge. I told her either we both move out after my parents move in or she can move into the apartment and I can stay with my sister until my parents get back here and move in with her after 2 months. She begrudgingly agreed to stay until my parents move back in but has been condescendingly reminding me about how unfair it is that we have to move out of our house because of my sister and my parents. I've been trying to be patient and reminded her multiple times that this is not our house. The last straw was last week when she told my sister she should just suck it up and moed up with her fiancé and not burden everyone around her because she is too sensitive. I had enough and told her to apologize or else we are over. She said I'm being ridiculous and that it's a joke and refused to apologize, so I broke up with her and had her move out of our house. Now all her family and friends have been texting me about what an holy I am for treating Leah like that and me and my sister should be ashamed for treating her like this. I've tried explaining to them about the situation but they are not having it. My family and friends are on my side but I started having doubts that maybe I've been too impulsive for breaking up with her like that or maybe I should have tried to reason with her. I'm kind of lost on what to do. Stories number 4. Aita for insisting my mom choose a side between me and my brother. This happened a few years ago but is still a major issue in my family. I, 25F, am the youngest and only girl of my siblings. Me and my mom, 50F, live in a different state and decided to visit home and my oldest brother, 31M, offered to house us with his family. The first night there, my mom went out with some old friends and my brother and his girlfriend, 32F, asked to hang out with me in their home for the night. After their kids, 4 kids between the ages of 9 months and 12, went to bed, we started drinking and talking about random things since this was the first time I had actually met this girlfriend and spent time with her. While talking, his girlfriend asked about our childhood and what he was like as a kid. And I answered honestly, he was a bad kid. He ran away, he spiked our mom's boyfriend's drinks with bleach, he fought at school almost daily and was suspended constantly until he dropped out. Something I thought was funny to joke about was not funny to him and he got angry. Me and his girlfriend laughed it off, we're all very drunk at this point, but I could tell he was getting angrier and angrier. Then he asked me, if I just punched you right now it wouldn't be funny would it? Again, drunk me laughed it off thinking we were just talking about our lives and childhoods. We were not abused or neglected as children so I truly didn't see this as me laughing at traumatic events or making fun of him. And then in a split second he punched me. Over and over. I remember protecting myself as I fell and getting back up and throwing anything in front of me as I tried to move out of the way. And then I was back on the floor, mouth bleeding, disoriented and crawling to the couch for help. The kids ran into the room scared and crying and his 9-month-old was crying hysterically. He was screaming and yelling at his girlfriend, "It's not funny. It's not funny," as she tried to calm him down. He even saw me on the couch crying and bleeding and threw a cup of alcohol in my face and called me a bitch. And then he said, "I hope you know you're gonna fucking die tonight." I remember running into the bathroom and locking the door, and I heard him searching desperately for a knife in the kitchen drawer. I called my mom as I hysterically cried and told her he was gonna kill me, and she begged me to open a window and run. He began banging on the door, describing how he was going to stab me, gut me. As I tried to open the window, I think I even accepted at this point I was dead and just pondering how it would feel. And then he stopped. I waited and realized my mom had begun breaking down the door to get to me because he was looking for a new knife to kill me with. After this, I went to the hospital, and although I had no broken bones, I was bleeding and my entire face was bruised and cut. I pressed charges against him, and after almost 3 years, he was caught on a separate charge, and now the case is moving forward this month. My mom, in her opinion, has tried to stay neutral, but I think in her way of staying neutral she has taken his side. She has told me that being beat was a consequence of saying rude things to him, and that I've already won because he's been in jail for months and should drop these charges since he's facing other criminal charges. Yesterday, I blew up and cried and told her she was stupid and dumb for ever suggesting that I get over this, and I can't believe she would want to be neutral and not take my side. She hung up the phone and we have not talked since. I feel like I might be TA because I don't have kids and I don't understand what she might be going through having to choose between us. It's also important to mention my brother has previously been diagnosed with a mental illness and has done violent behavior like breaking windows, stealing, going on car chases from police, and fighting before, so I feel like our family has become so immune to his behavior that me pressing the issue and demanding accountability is making everyone uncomfortable. But I also feel like her seeing what I looked like after he beat me, hearing me describe what it felt like and how it has damaged me. I've been diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety, should automatically make her take my side and support my decision to take this to court. TLDR, my brother tried to stab me and my mother is asking for me to drop the charges and insists that she cannot choose between her children on which side to take in the situation. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, this can't be real. If the cops were called, they would recommend the DA press charges themselves and the kids would be removed from the home since he's a psychopath. Reply, in my moment of panic, I didn't call the police, I just called my mom for help and she took me to the hospital. I went to the police the next day and they basically did nothing until I got a phone call a few months ago that he was arrested for something else. The DA did apologize and said he had no idea how this case slipped between the cracks and why it took so long for him to be arrested. The kids are still in the home and he is still with GF. Commenter 2, I stopped reading after the very first sentence. NTA, if one child is a sociopath who tries to stab people, clearly she should be on the other kid's side. Reply, thank you for responding and for your honesty. Part of why I made the post is because for the last couple years, multiple family members have told me that expecting my mom to choose a side is irrational and that I should stop pushing this, drop the charges, and handle this as a family. After the argument with my mom, it really started making me question whether I am being irrationally biased and TA for bringing this situation up for so long and making her choose between us. I really thought people here were going to tell me I was letting my emotions blindside me and I'm TA for yelling at my mom and pushing for her to make a clear stand because I've been hearing it for years now. But hearing the opposite from so many people is actually mind-boggling and I needed it. Commenter 3, your mother has picked a side and she is wrong. Please proceed with the charges. Those poor kids, that man should never be around children. Commenter 4, wow, unbelievable how your mother is reacting. Maybe for your own mental health you should cut off all contact with your mom too. Your brother literally tried to kill you and in no world is that okay or forgivable. Continue with the charges because he needs consequences and he needs help. You need to protect yourself and not have contact with your mom. You should never doubt you are doing the right thing. Update. For context, a few years ago, my older brother beat me violently during a drunken conversation, to the point that I thought I was going to die. My mother has stated that I shouldn't testify against him and that I'm TA for making her pick between us when she's supposed to be neutral. As the trial started approaching, my family started pressuring me heavily to back out. My mom told me that I should let this go because my brother has suffered enough by losing his girlfriend, his kids, and facing time in jail for other charges. She says I'm pushing too hard and that my testimony will send him to prison rather than letting him finish his time in jail, even though I didn't ask for jail time. I requested a plea deal that focused on probation, a mental health evaluation, and mandatory medication adherence. I just wanted him to get help and even that was too much. She also told me I'm contributing to what black men go through, which feels incredibly manipulative, considering she has never once asked me what I need to heal or how this has affected me. Everything is about my brother, his image, and how to keep him out of prison, not about what I experienced or what helps me feel safe. My brother had someone post on social media about him getting released soon, not happening, and my mother commented and said, "Can't wait for you to be home soon." So a side was clearly chosen here and it's not mine. And then it got worse. My mom, father, and grandmother have all reached out trying to get me to drop the case. My father, mind you, this is my father not my brother's since we're half siblings, told me, it's not like your brother molested your kids or killed your husband, as if those are the only two scenarios that justify testifying. He said I'm ruining the family and making myself look bad by going forward. Then I found out my mom gave my father the name of my prosecutor without telling me, and they emailed the prosecutor pretending I had changed my mind about testifying because it wasn't really a big deal. Thankfully, the prosecutor reached out to confirm, and I told him it wasn't true. Trial was this morning and my brother decided to plead guilty and ask for time served and I was not allowed to testify. I felt like it was another thing he stole from me. My mental health, my feelings of safety, the love for my family, and now he took my moment of confrontation. However, he's back in jail because he is still awaiting sentencing for 11 other charges and facing decades in prison. I called my mother afterwards and told her I didn't testify and that I knew she emailed the prosecutor. She denied and said she had nothing to do with it but was happy my father did it nonetheless. She said I sided with the system and contributed to another black man in jail and should be ashamed of myself and then hung up. I texted her and said I still loved her and I wish that one day we can go back to being best friends again because I miss her. She hasn't responded. So much for neutral, right? Thank you for all the kind words and everyone who told me they have been through something similar. My brother has taken so much from me and I feel alone, defeated, and empty. Part of me is happy this is over but the cost of my family is something I never even considered when he attacked me 3 years ago. I don't know how I will pick up the pieces or get through this immense sadness but I will try. TLDR, my parents tried to have the case thrown out by lying but couldn't. My brother pleaded guilty to assault and battery and I couldn't testify. My mother is not speaking to me anymore. Relevant comments. Does OOP's brother have any other charges against him that are unrelated to OOP's situation and if her testimony wouldn't have any impact on other charges? Reply, yes, he has about 11 other charges unrelated to me including having a weapon as a felon. Actually, he never even went to jail for my charges until this year when he was caught on the other charges and they realized he had a warrant for his arrest for almost 3 years that they did nothing about. I confirmed before court that my testimony wouldn't have any impact on the other charges and I was told that the other charges were so severe that it was unlikely a judge would even care about what happened today. And even then that wasn't enough reassurance for my mother. She said it didn't matter that I didn't actually testify but wanting TO is the same as actually doing it. Why aren't OOP's parents being held accountable for lying to the prosecutor about the ongoing criminal trial? Reply, the prosecutor told me he didn't report my parents specifically for the fact he felt bad for me that I was being harassed by so much family and he didn't want to make it worse by reporting them and giving them another reason to harass me. I'm so thankful he did it because I can barely handle the ostracism as is. I get that people post fake stuff up here trust me but this is unfortunately very real and I would post the photos of my beat up face if I didn't want to remain anonymous. Commenter 1. While you didn't get to testify during his guilty plea, is there any way that you can prepare a victim's impact statement to be read at his sentencing hearing? Even though it's not trial testimony, if allowed, you would be able to express to the court how his actions have affected your life health. Reply, they sentenced him at the same time as the plea hearing to time served and allowed me to make a statement then. I was honestly just so shocked and disappointed and trying not to cry that all I could say was, I hope he gets help and I'm sad that our relationship has been reduced to this. He refused to say anything. I just hate that I wasn't prepared to make a statement because I had spent so much time prepping myself to testify. It's part of why I'm having the feelings I'm having, like I didn't get to actually get any of those feelings off myself, they're still here. He just keeps taking things from me and that was one of them. Commenter 2, can I ask what makes you keep going back to people so obviously don't care about you? I don't have parents so I don't understand it. What is it that they bring to you that you keep going back for? Reply, hi, me and my mom were extremely close before this. As in I've had people say to us, I thought me and my mom are close but you guys are close. We see each other every weekend, we talk 3 times a day at minimum, we were so close. She actually was the one who told me to pursue charges 3 years ago. I think the switch up happened when she realized he was going to jail for a long time and needed a scapegoat for her feelings and it was me. Even through all of this, she's called me and came by to apologize and tell me she could never choose anyone over me because she couldn't imagine life without me. So it's hard when she tells me how much she needs me and then switches to hating me so quickly. OOP ongoing no contact with her family after what has taken place. Reply, I do think I have to go LCNC with everyone because I'm realizing how toxic it is that I have to defend my feelings to my parents almost every time we talk. I'll have a few months off work soon and I'm going to try to use that to rebuild my life back with just myself and good therapy. I hope to look into some domestic violence shelters soon to find a community of women who understand what I'm going through. Stories number 5. I, 29M, was warned not to marry my girlfriend, 28F, by her best friend. What now? I've been with my girlfriend for 3 years, and I've been planning to propose in the next couple of months. Recently, we had a group of her friends over, and I decided to share my plans with one of her best friends. For context, her best friend is a gay man who's been in a committed relationship for 8 years. Their relationship seems stable, and while they're not married, they treat it as if they are. He's also very blunt. He tends to speak his mind even when it causes tension, and he's not great at sugarcoating things to avoid awkwardness. So, when I told him about my plan to propose, he looked a bit uncomfortable. He said, "Good luck," while glancing around like he wanted to leave. His reaction surprised me, so I asked if he had any tips or if there was something he wanted to get off his chest about me. He said he actually likes me and enjoys spending time with me, which made the situation more confusing. I asked him directly what was bothering him, thinking I could handle whatever he said. That's when he told me he had concerns, not about me, but about my girlfriend. According to him, she has a pattern of being emotionally distant in relationships. He said she's dated people more for convenience than genuine affection and that she only ever seemed truly excited about one guy in the past. Her excitement then was as simple as being eager to text him back or lighting up when he messaged her. He also pointed out that she still talks about her exes a lot, even though she doesn't keep in touch with them. I've noticed this too. She'll bring up old conversations with exes and talk about them in surprising detail. He also mentioned that she hasn't been single for more than a year since before high school. While he admitted that might be hypocritical, since he's been with his boyfriend since high school, he said he believes she sometimes confuses romantic relationships with emotional support systems. That hit home for me because during our first year together, I actually wondered if she was in love with him. I eventually dropped that thought after spending more time around him and realizing how committed he is to his boyfriend, and quite frankly he is very gay. But the behaviors that raised my suspicions, her emotional dependence on him, only stopped after he established stronger boundaries. I remember a year into our relationship my girlfriend got upset that he stopped coming over to comfort her after his boyfriend moved in full-time. They had an argument, and he apparently admitted that her lack of boundaries was part of the reason he pulled back. Sometimes she would even sleep over at his place, which always struck me as odd. Those were the kinds of things I thought I should be doing as her partner. What surprised me is that she's never been overly clingy with me. If anything, she's independent and sometimes distant. But with him, she had a strong emotional reliance. What started as me sharing exciting news turned into a conversation that left me feeling uncertain. I love my girlfriend, but her friend made some valid points that are now weighing on me. His comments echoed some things I had noticed but hadn't fully processed. Now I'm left wondering, why would he bring all this up? Was he trying to protect me, or was this crossing a line? Do I talk to my girlfriend about this? If I do, and she finds out what he said, what does that mean for their friendship, or for mine with her? Does she have a right to know her friend shared this with me? TLDR, I told my girlfriend's best friend I was planning to propose. He reacted awkwardly and eventually shared concerns about her emotional patterns in past relationships, like being distant, dating for convenience, and relying heavily on him for support. His comments made me question things I had noticed too. Now I'm unsure if I should talk to her about it, and I'm conflicted about whether she should know what her friend said. Stories number 6. Aita for getting upset with my roommates for bringing random men over late at night. Hi everyone, I, 25F, live in a 3-bedroom apartment with 2 other girls, Anna, 22F, and Jess, 22F. When we first moved in together, we all agreed on a few ground rules: no unannounced overnight guests, no strangers coming over super late, and to be respectful about noise since we all have early mornings for work or school. Lately though, Anna and Jess have started bringing random guys over late at night. I'm talking 1 or 2 a.m. often after a night out or from dating apps. I don't have a problem with them having a social life, but it makes me extremely uncomfortable having strangers in our apartment while I'm trying to sleep, especially when I have no idea who they are. What really crossed the line for me was a couple weeks ago when one of the guys walked into my bathroom without asking, and another time, a different guy tried to open my bedroom door at 2:30 a.m., clearly thinking it was Jess' room. That scared the hell out of me. I've brought this up with both of them several times, saying it makes me feel unsafe and disrespected in my own home. Every time, they just say, "Sorry, it won't happen again," or that I'm overreacting, and that it's not a big deal. Spoiler, it keeps happening. Last night was the final straw. I woke up to loud voices and laughing at 2 a.m., only to find 2 new random guys in our living room. I lost my temper and told them this was seriously not okay anymore. Now Anna and Jess are calling me uptight and no fun, and said I'm making them feel like they can't live their lives in their own apartment. Now I'm starting to wonder Aita for putting my foot down about this. Top comments. Commenter 1, NTA, you guys all agreed on boundaries. However, it's clear they aren't going to follow them and have no interest in how you feel, and you can't tell them what to do, so it's probably best to look for a new living situation. Commenter 2, NTA, and in the meantime change your bedroom doorknob to a locking with key door, same with the bathroom. Commenter 3, NTA, you've done nothing wrong, but unfortunately you will probably have to move out as it sounds like things are unlikely to improve. In the meantime, you might like to get a lock for your door if you're able to. Update. Hey everyone, just wanted to give an update since a lot has happened in the last couple of days. So after I made that post, things between me, Anna, and Jess got way more tense. I tried one more time to have a calm, sit-down conversation with them about it. I told them again how uncomfortable and unsafe it makes me feel to have random guys in the apartment in the middle of the night, especially after the incidents with the bathroom and someone trying to open my bedroom door. Instead of being understanding, they doubled down. Jess basically told me I was being paranoid and controlling, and Anna said I was killing the vibe of the apartment. They claimed it's their right to have whoever they want over, whenever they want, because we're adults now. Apparently, me wanting to feel safe and know who's in my own home makes me a buzzkill. Then the final straw happened the very next night. They had 3 guys over, super late again. One of them was so drunk he knocked over a lamp in the living room and then had the nerve to start banging on my door at like 2:15 a.m. because he wanted to use the bathroom. I didn't open the door, I just grabbed my stuff, left, and went straight to my boyfriend's place. I've been staying with him temporarily while I figure out my next move. Thankfully, he's been super supportive and offered to let me stay as long as I need. I also let my landlord know what's going on, and I'm officially starting the process of breaking my lease and looking for a new place. I honestly can't believe it escalated this quickly, but I don't feel safe or comfortable there anymore. It sucks because I loved that apartment when we first moved in, but it's not worth the constant anxiety or the risk. I wish they could have just respected boundaries and been reasonable roommates, but here we are. Thanks so much to everyone who commented on the original post. You all made me feel so much less crazy for being upset about it. TLDR, things escalated, I moved out temporarily, and I'm breaking my lease to get out of that situation for good. Top comments. Commenter 1, definitely the right move to leave. Their behavior was completely unreasonable and disrespectful of your safety. So glad you have a supportive boyfriend and are getting out of that situation. Wishing you all the best finding a new, peaceful place. Commenter 2, you're right to leave. Your roommates are naive to the realities of the world and how dangerously naive they are being. Commenter 3, for their sake, I hope what usually happens when young women make a habit of bringing drunk guys around regularly, doesn't happen. Every lesson doesn't need to be learned the hard way. Glad you're getting out. I know too many women that this didn't turn out well for. Stories number 7. Aita for yelling at my wife when she didn't back me up after our friend almost pushed me into a pool. I, 34M, have never been a strong swimmer. I can tread water if needed, but I generally avoid swimming when possible. This is something my wife Anna, 32F, knows and has always respected. Last weekend, we were at a barbecue at our friends Dave and Sarah's house. They have a nice backyard pool and most people were planning to swim. I politely declined when everyone started changing into swimwear, saying I'd just hang out poolside. My wife went swimming with the others while I enjoyed watching from a safe distance. After about an hour, my friend Dave started insisting I join them. I kept saying no, explaining I wasn't comfortable swimming. He laughed it off and said, "Come on, don't be boring." I continued to refuse, getting increasingly uncomfortable with his pressuring. Things escalated when Dave started approaching me with this mischievous grin, saying, "Sometimes you just need a little push." He actually grabbed my arm and started pulling me toward the pool. I panicked and pulled away, nearly falling in the process. I was genuinely frightened and shouted for him to stop. What upset me most was that my wife was right there watching this happen and said nothing. She was laughing along with everyone else like it was just a joke. I felt completely betrayed that she didn't step in when she knows how uncomfortable I am with swimming. After we got home, I confronted her. I'll admit I raised my voice significantly. I said something like, "How could you just stand there while Dave was trying to force me into the pool? You know I hate swimming. You're supposed to have my back." She got defensive and said I was overreacting and that Dave was just having fun. This made me even angrier and I ended up sleeping on the couch. The next day, she told me I embarrassed her by making a scene and then yelling at her afterward. Now she's saying I should apologize to her and to Dave for ruining the vibe at the party. I don't think I'm wrong for expecting my wife to stand up for me, but maybe I shouldn't have yelled. So, Aita, comments. Commenter 1. So if she didn't swim and someone tried to throw her in and you stood there laughing, she should apologize to you and the person trying to throw her in. Sound right if you switch it up. Commenter 2. Your wife and Dave are ridiculous little punks. Commenter 3. Grown-ass man still playing childish games on their friends, and your wife just going along with it. Yeah, fuck that. If it was the other way around she'd be livid with you and Dave. Your wife should have your back. You weren't ruining the vibe. Dave did with his constant pressuring. Commenter 4. Order a prostitute to Dave's house and settle things with your wife. This is not serious enough to press charges or get a divorce, no matter what this sub says. That's always the advice of this sub. Besides, the cops would laugh at you and you don't destroy your family because of a little thing like this. Just tell her, if she does it again, she is getting thrown in the pool, completely dressed and better not say a fucking word because, it's funny, right, and she's overreacting. Update. It's been a few days since my original post, and I wanted to give an update on the situation with my wife and Dave. First, I want to thank everyone for their comments and insights. I'm sorry I don't have time to respond to each comment. I also appreciate the Redditors saying that I'm weak or should start standing up for myself. Not gonna lie, maybe there's some truth in that. However, reading the different perspectives helped me reflect on the situation more clearly. After taking some time to cool down, I decided to have a proper conversation with my wife. We sat down after dinner and I made sure to approach the topic calmly. I started by apologizing for yelling at her. I explained that while I was hurt by her not stepping in, my reaction wasn't constructive and I shouldn't have raised my voice. Anna listened and then opened up. She admitted she hadn't realized how genuinely frightened I was in the moment. She thought I was just being stubborn about swimming and that Dave was trying to lighten the mood. She said she could see now how his actions crossed a line, and she apologized for not supporting me when I needed her. We had a deeper conversation about boundaries and how important it is to back each other up in social situations. She promised to be more attentive to situations that make me uncomfortable, and I promised to communicate my feelings before they escalate to shouting. It was actually a really productive conversation that brought us closer. As for Dave, he called me the other day. I thought he might be calling to apologize, but that's not what happened. Instead, he asked why I was being so weird about the pool incident and said everyone was just trying to have fun. When I tried explaining how his actions made me feel unsafe, he dismissed it and said I needed to lighten up and learn to take a joke. I kept my cool and told him firmly that trying to force someone into water when they've repeatedly said no isn't a joke, it's disrespectful and potentially dangerous. He scoffed and changed the subject to some upcoming basketball game. My wife and I have decided to take a break from hanging out with Dave for a while. Anna completely supports this decision now that she understands how serious this was for me. We're planning to spend more time with friends who respect boundaries instead. I'm relieved that my wife and I are on the same page now, even if Dave still doesn't get it. Sometimes you realize which relationships are worth putting the work into, and which ones might need to be reconsidered. Comments. Commenter 1. Well done on actually talking with your wife about it. But Dave, fuck Dave. Commenter 2. Dave isn't a friend. Friends listen when asked to do so and try to understand each other out of respect. Commenter 3. There was news story about how MOH pushed the bride-to-be into the pool as a joke. She landed wrong and was paralyzed from the chest down. Glad OP's story has a better ending. Commenter 4. Nice job solving the problem like two adults. As for Dave, he sounds like a jerk and a bully, and no matter what someone says to a jerk bully they usually don't understand. Step away from him, and if anyone asks why, be honest. Stories number 8. I had my yard certified as a national wildlife habitat despite a busybody neighbor. Our yard is wild. I mean that in the real definition of living or growing in the natural environment. We have no lawn. We aggressively remove and prevent invasive and noxious species of plants and ensure that what grows is native to our area and drought resistant. The wildflowers that grow are things like lupin, blue flax, spiderwort, black-eyed Susan, and sunflowers, among others. We have natural elements like driftwood logs to retain water, and we even have an elk skull in the yard to act as a shelter for critters. There are a plethora of birds, bees, bunnies, and other wildlife. More wildlife than any yard in the area, as far as I can tell. It's beautiful and alive, but definitely not a manicured lawn with perfectly cut grass and landscaping. Last summer, we got a notice from the county that our yard was in violation of some county ordinance. My husband called the number on the notice and got a very over-it employee who let out a big sigh and said he had gotten like 30 complaints from one person for the entire strip of road that we live on. Keep in mind, you can't batch report an area. You have to file reports house by house. So someone had the time and energy to pull up Google Maps and file a report for about 30 houses for overgrown weeds. I checked the county ordinance and made sure everything we had in our yard was in compliance. Things like purposely cultivated, which our wildflowers definitely were. We planted specific species of seeds and we remove whatever's not native. None of the wild plants block any sidewalks nor do they hang over onto any other properties. Now knowing that it was someone with way too much time on their hands, I did some reading and learned that my yard has everything needed and then some to qualify as a national wildlife habitat. So, I filled out the form, paid the fee, and got my certificate. My husband called the county employee back who said, "Send me that certificate." He looked it over, thanked my husband for the new information he can use in the future, and closed our case. I now have signs on my yard that announce the property as a wildlife habitat and the birds and bees get to keep living happily in the wild. Edit. Thank you for the overwhelming support for my little act of rebellion. I'm so happy to see how many people are excited about wild yards. Long live the bees. That said, I'm getting some real weird hate in my inbox. IDK this seems to have activated some negative feelings in some people. Let me clear a couple things up. The county doesn't have HOA-style restrictions. They're pretty fast and loose with the ordinances. The certificate sign simply shows that the wildness is intentional and not just a neglected yard. It offers no legal protection, and I never claimed it did. The county employee liked that he had something to show in the event someone keeps complaining. So far, we haven't had any more issues and it's been over a year. I don't really worry about resale value BC. I want to live in my house in a manner that brings me joy. I can easily reverse anything we've done if I need to sell for some reason. The house is paid off though, so not likely to do that anytime soon lol. I don't feel comfortable sharing photos of my yard, and someone demanded proof I own a house. I'm really sorry, I would also want to see photos. I have just had some weird issues in the past and don't want to end up doxing myself. I'm sure most of y'all understand. I'm so happy y'all are interested in having a wild yard, as well. Stories number 9, AIO. He vaped mid-sex. Okay, I know this might sound silly, but I can't stop thinking about it and need to know if I'm being super dramatic or if this is a legit red flag. I, 24F, met this man, 34M, while on vacation for a week. We hit it off instantly and ended up sleeping together a few times. The chemistry was crazy, the vibes immaculate, and the sex. A solid 10/10, he even said it was the best cat he's ever had, his words, not mine lol. But here's where it gets odd. During one of our sessions, doggy style, if you must know, he straight up stopped mid-thrust, and when I looked back to see what was happening, this man was hitting his lemon-flavored vape. Not even during a break in rhythm, just casually pulling a cloud like we were on a smoko instead of, in the middle of something. Now here's the kicker, I vape too. So I'm not judging him for vaping in general. But mid-sex? Like really? I've never once felt the urge to grab my vape between moans. I'm currently planning to move to his country in the new year. To be very clear, this move was pre-planned and is 1000% for my own career and life plans, not for him, but obviously I've been fantasizing about the possibility of seeing where things could go between us. And now I'm spiraling. What does this mean? Is this a sign he's not really present? Disrespectful? Just too comfortable? Or am I making a mountain out of a lemon-scented molehill? Like, what kind of person vapes mid-sex? What does it say about how he sees me or values the experience? Please be honest with me, Reddit. Am I overreacting? Edit. I was a bit shy to mention this, but can I also add that he invited me into his unseriousness by offering me a hit of the vape and I accepted. Unfortunately, the flavor was actually really nice. In my defense, I was shocked and stunned. Top comment. Commenter 1. The edit op. I am over here cackling, thank you for the laugh. I think if you can discuss it and ask for it not to happen again, I'm sure you can both laugh about it and move on. Commenter 2. I equally thank you all for the laughs. This post has truly made my day. Face with tears of joy. I'm not upset about the vaping specifically, I just wondered if it meant something deeper, but judging by the comments this is okay and a bit funny actually. Commenter 3. The age gap is more of a red flag than the vaping MHO. I think the age thing won't hurt you as long as you keep your goals and independence. Commenter 4. The age gap is %100 red flag coming from a 22-year-old who has been with a 32-year-old M. I'm still disgusted myself about it low. Commenter 5. It's really not that big of a deal, you shouldn't worry about it tbh. The biggest red flag here is that he said, best cat I've ever had. Commenter 6. Profile badge for the achievement top 1% commenter top 1% commenter. I've dated 10 years older. I was 25 and they were around 35 at the time. It's not a big deal. I will say age gaps in your early 20s are a big thing since new to the adult life just a couple years makes a huge difference in life experience. Reply, right? The edit sent me honestly, if y'all can laugh like this about it and talk it through, you're already winning. Stories number 10. My 28F, best friend, 27M, has been lying to me for 7 years. I feel like I'm in some weird soap opera and have no clue how to end this. I'm struggling with figuring out how to start this, so I guess I'll just start with context. Obligatory apology for mobile and long post. I'll try to keep it semi-brief, but there's a lot. I, F28, have been friends with Blake, 28M for about 10 years now. We met when I was traveling for a new job out of state, and I kid you not immediately became best friends in the week that I was there. Same interests, great energy and conversation, we just clicked. We were friends for nearly 2 years before trying the dating thing. It lasted 3 months, important, during which Blake did not treat me well due to unresolved issues from prior relationships. Before I could end it, he decided to end it himself as he had feelings for someone else. Fine with me, we were clearly better as friends. I took some space because he hadn't been treating me well. He got into therapy and apologized for being shitty, and was willing to put in the work to regain my trust for our friendship. Which he did, consistently, over the 8 years since. Fast forward to now, I'm now happily married to my wonderful husband Cam, 28M, together for 6 years, married for 2 years. Blake and I are still best friends. He and his ex after our brief dating stint broke up, and he is now with a wonderful woman, Kaylee, 21F, for almost 2 years now, started dating a few months before my wedding. This is important. Kaylee and I are also good friends, she's the sweetest person. Blake also lives in the same city as me now after his mother passed, having moved down here for a better support network. His girlfriend moved in about 9 months ago. In the past 6 months or so, things have been strained with Blake. My husband is very introverted, and Blake started voicing frustration about his inability to be closer friends with Cam and feeling like he bothers Cam. He and I also started having weird tiffs, kind of subtle negs, belittling comments, etc. Then my husband and I came over to a game night for Blake's birthday 3 months ago, during which Blake picked fights with me about very weird things, for example my career path and how I'm going about it wrong, making comments like, I guess if you want to stunt yourself in life, you can do it that way, etc. Both my Cam and I were caught very off guard, and after several attempts to shut it down, made excuses and headed home. Later, Blake proceeded to send me a text asking if I was okay. BC, the vibes felt off. To which I was like, no kidding, and explained my issue. He decided to reply with, an email, who uses email anymore? 8 long paragraphs about how he felt he and his experience knowledge was dismissed in our discussion, how he felt ganged up on when Cam would defend my side, and how he felt like he can't be himself around me and Cam anymore. He also made comments voicing that he didn't feel like he could trust me because I tell Cam everything. Not true, I always ask before sharing unless it's a danger or moral issue, and that he thinks I'm unhealthily codependent on Cam because whenever Blake and I hang out one by one I'm always calling to let Cam know how late I'll be out or check if I'm cool to pick up takeout. We're married with joint finances, sue me. I replied trying to clarify my end as well as understand where the ever-loving hell this all was coming from, but no matter how many times I tried, we kept going in circles. The emailing back and forth, during which he demanded we not meet up till this was resolved, lasted till about 2 weeks ago, when I said I needed time to think about how to reply next. About a month ago I got into therapy because it was seriously messing with my head and making me feel like I was a problem and like I couldn't talk to anyone about this. BC, we share much of our support system. I finally broke down to my sister when she came over to see why I hadn't been answering her, or really anyone, yay anxiety, lately. She is also friends with Blake through me. I let her read the emails, and she got pretty ticked on my behalf, and then proceeded to drop a hell of a bombshell on me and Cam. Blake is apparently still in love with me and hates Cam's guts. Apparently, when she drove to pick up Blake out of state for our wedding, he was a groomsman. He confided in her and her husband that he didn't agree with the wedding and wished I would break up with Cam and give him another chance. That we're soulmates and Cam isn't the one for me. Blake has heard me talk since day one about how happy Cam makes me and how safe and loved I feel with him. My sister shut it down, but, even better, Blake proceeded to do the same thing when she drove him back home after our wedding. He ended off saying he just needed some time, so my sister kept her mouth shut because she knew that he's my best friend and hoped she could trust him to resolve it over time since he lived far away. Blake then moved near me about a year ago, and Kaylee moved in the August after. My husband's and my wedding anniversary is in October, and apparently Blake called my sister's husband to, again, confide that he's still in love with me and wishes I would divorce Cam because he would be a better husband to me, while living with Kaylee, who he's told me is his soul mate. This was about when all the stress started, so she never found a good moment to bring it up. As if to ice the cake, Kaylee and I have been keeping up via text through all this. Again, we're friends. During the past few weeks, I learned some odd things. Kaylee got new piercings, reportedly encouraged by Blake to do so because she'd look so cute, a double nose piercing in septum, which possibly coincidentally Blake took me to get as a post-wedding gift 2 years ago. Blake apparently has beef with the month of August and so has decided their anniversary will be in October. The reason he gave was because it's spooky month, but Cam and I started dating and got married that month. I also, at my sister's prompt, went back and checked when Blake and I broke up August 2017. Again, possibly coincidental, but feels very odd as I don't know why else he would have an issue with that month. It's also worth noting Blake had another relationship fall apart because the girl was outright convinced Blake was cheating on her with me to the point of blasting me for weeks as some homewrecker. Cam and I always chalked it up to her insecurity, but now I'm wondering if she was just watching Blake carry on some weird, one-sided emotional affair. I love my husband more than words can say, and he makes me happier than anyone I've ever met. He's my ultimate best friend. Learning all this has made me feel so gross and like a horrible wife, though Cam has been wonderfully supportive and doesn't blame me at all. All this to say, I'm ending our friendship, but have no clue how. I feel like I have to tell Kaylee as this has all happened during their relationship and living together and the woman deserves the world, but also recognize I have no real proof beyond spoken accounts besides the weird emails. It sounds like some wild conspiracy theory or soap opera. My therapist is on vacation, so I'm on my own after learning all this. I'm also realizing just how manipulative Blake has been for years given this context, and already feel shaky about confronting him given my serious confrontation anxiety, which he knows about and could easily try to exploit. I'm realizing more and more that he has massive control issues that I dismissed as anxiety for years. The fact that he lives so close now fills me with dread rather than joy. I want to come out of this with no regrets, knowing I stood up for myself, and that I put a decisive end to this. I want Blake to know his actions and creepy ulterior motives are the reason our decade-long friendship is dead. I've never ended a friendship myself, also a bit of an introvert, and this is basically friend breakup on steroids. How do I break this lunacy to Kaylee in a way that sounds remotely believable given the front Blake has built? I also would love some advice on how to go about telling Blake I know everything and we're absolutely done. Additional info from Oop. So, I'm working right now and not replying to other comments till later due to time constraints, but thought some clarifications could do well given this comment. There is no sexual past. Blake and I did not sleep together, again this was only a 3-month relationship. Not everyone hooks up, the most we ever did was kiss a few times upon visiting due to long distance, and again, this was 8 years ago. 2. This isn't the only friend I've briefly dated that I'm still in touch with. Hell, Cam actually does have close friend that he also dated back when he was in college for about 6 months as well. She and I are really close as well, and Cam and I are godparents to her child. Genuinely, both of us are very secure in our relationship and don't take issue with it. We're also both into all genders, so opposite sex doesn't really mean much to us for friendships. It's all just people. 3. My sister and I are in talks over this. I didn't feel it relevant to include in post but will hear. I let her know how upset I was over her keeping this from me, and she broke down apologizing for it and recognizes she messed up. She also has severe anxiety, and thought it had resolved until the second time Blake reached out to her husband, during which time she was going through a lot herself personally. She was intending to tell me next we spoke around the time I fell off communicating from the stress of it all. We're working through this separately. As for your summary, having gotten a restraining order on a different ex, it's not very easy to get one. I will definitely if I have to, but jumping straight to that doesn't seem feasible. The cop scare tactic is definitely not a bad idea to keep in my pocket though, thank you. As for your frankly polarizing view on myself and my marriage, I didn't come here to ask for advice or opinions on my marriage. My husband has been amazing and very adamant that I know he is mad at Blake for being a creepy lying jerk and not me. He knows full well that I have eyes only for him and never once doubted that before nor after all this. You can think whatever you want of me or my marriage, but I did want to throw that out there. The feeling like a terrible wife I mentioned is because I feel like I've been blind this whole time, especially as I fully acknowledge how cliché this all sounds. Whether that's true or not, I know my marriage is solid and secure, and I in no way spat in anyone's face. Update. Well, I was definitely not expecting to be making an update follow-up post when I made my original post. Admittedly, my original post blew up far more than I ever anticipated. I've made many posts on various accounts and subreddits over the years, including this one, and typically I get a handful of kind-hearted Redditors' input before it dies into obscurity lol, so this was definitely new to me. I'm endlessly thankful for all the wonderful people who offered comments of care, support, and advice. Some of the comments were so invaluable and I can't thank you all enough. I did decide to delete the original post, largely to protect my peace as it was surprisingly anxiety-inducing to have 500,000 views on one of the most surreal moments of my life, and partially as protection as there were many specific details that could easily be identified if seen by someone who knows the details IRL. For those who didn't see, TLDR, as best as I can, at least I, 28F, am married to my husband, Cam, 28M, for about 2 years, together for 6. Blake, 27M, and I have been best friends for about 10 years. 8 years ago, Blake and I briefly tried the dating thing for about 3 months before things ended, overall due to Blake being toxic, not treating me well, and his having feelings for someone else. We stepped back from each other but wanted to remain friends. Blake went to therapy, apologized for how things went with us and how he treated me, and committed to working on being a better friend. He outwardly did so in the years following, and we maintained our friendship. Blake is now with Kaylee, 21F, for almost 2 years. Recently Blake and I started having weird little tiffs, and when Cam and I went to Blake's birthday game night, Blake started criticizing me during our conversations over very weird things, such as my career and how I'm going about it, etc. After Cam and I left, I got a text from Blake asking why the vibes were off, and I voiced the issue. Blake responded with a long email about how he felt dismissed, tread on, disrespected, etc. This turns into nearly 4 months of emailing back and forth and self-isolation from the anxiety of it all, during which I started therapy. I finally talked to my sister about it, who revealed that on the way to and from my wedding Blake had told her that he was still in love with me, disagreed with the marriage, and wished I'd give him another chance, etc. He then said he just needed time to process, so my sister didn't disclose this to me when it happened, thinking he'd move on. She agrees this was not the best move, but we're okay. She then discloses that Blake did the same thing on my wedding anniversary in October, reaching out to her husband with the same concerns. She was going to tell me at the time, but life blew up, as life does. By the time she was able to do so, I wasn't talking to much of anyone. When she told me and Cam this, in addition to other sketchy details I recently learned from Kaylee, I immediately knew I was ending the friendship because he clearly saw us as or wanted something more. For those concerned about my husband in all this, Cam knew about my and Blake's dating stint from the start. Cam also has friends who he has similarly dated. This is not an issue for us, despite Reddit's objections, and he has been aware and involved in everything that's happened, both in my OG post and this update and beyond. My husband found y'all's negative comments absolutely hilarious, and told me to tell any who are concerned, I love and trust my wife, and if someone has an issue with it, that's a you problem, bucko. Now that that's aside the update, I decided to talk to Kaylee after all. I asked to meet up and treated her to coffee and pastries, and then disclosed everything I knew. She listened, even reaching over to hold my hand when she saw me shaking, and thanked me for telling her. In short, she has decided to stay with Blake for now, but is moving forward with this in mind, as is her right to decide. She wants to stay friends with me, and fully understands that I want nothing to do with Blake and why, as well as to not share any info about me with him, and that there'll be some distance for a bit. This is where y'all might yell at me, but I did confront Blake in person. This was mostly due to the fact that I wanted to get it out of the way right after talking to Kaylee without raising alarm bells, and meeting up under the guise of talking it out in person was the easiest way to do that. My husband went with me, though the conversation was just between Blake and myself. I took several safety precautions as well, such as secretly recording the interaction. Initially, Blake started in on classic Darvo, saying he didn't remember saying those things to my sister etc., and then remembered certain things but, in different contexts. He even tried spinning it back on me several times. I shut all that down as well as any excuses justifications given, and firmly landed my point that regardless of intent or reasoning, his actions are wildly inappropriate and inexcusable. After dismantling enough of the excuses, he actually offered several apologies owning up to his actions. Whether he meant them or not, I don't know nor care, but it was semi-cathartic for sure. He insists everything with Kaylee is coincidental, but either way that is between them at this point. The conversation ended with him saying he didn't want to lose our friendship. That he was willing to take a friendship break for a bit, establish better firmer boundaries. That he feels he's in a better place to be more honest. That now, he was aware of the issue and would pay more care in not breaking my boundaries. I shut him down, saying that ship sailed long ago, and it shouldn't have to take me saying, I'm done, for him to put effort into respecting me. He then said he'd respect my decision to end our friendship, but begged me to at least keep an open mind at possible future reconciliation. I was pretty much done at this point and told him flat out that these are the consequences of his own actions, that I can never trust anything he says or does ever again, and that even if in some alternate universe I was open to that, he would be an acquaintance, and certainly would never ever be my best or even close friend again. He went quiet and teary-eyed after this, I assume because he knew things were coming to a close. I stood up, he asked me for one last hug. I said no, reached out to shake his hand, and left without looking back. Which felt kind of badass, until I got down the block and round the corner and had the panic attack that had been looming all day lol. Win some, lose some. Overall though, I think this went as well as it could have. I'm not letting my guard down yet, just in case, but it's a relief that it's finally, seemingly, resolved. Admittedly, I'm not doing great, but I know I will be okay. Cam helped me realize I'm basically mourning the death of a decade-long friend, while Blake himself may not be dead, the Blake I knew is, so I'm trying to give myself some grace in processing through this. Cam has decided tonight is reserved for tacos, cake, and video games together for some dopamine, and we're both calling into work tomorrow after this chaos. Thank you again to all those who offered kindness and support on my last post. I don't think I would have had nearly the confidence and composure I had today if not for you all. May your pillow always be nice and cold, your food the perfect temperature, and your life full of joy and peace. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Block him and don't look back. Reply. I very much did. The funniest thing is I was almost starting to feel a little bad afterwards. He verbally acknowledged and took accountability for much of what happened by the end of the conversation, and while I wasn't regretting my decision, I was feeling a bit guilty for going scorched earth that fast and wondered if things could have improved had I not. Until I got an email this morning because the jerk made a whole new email account to reach out to me from because he figured I blocked him but he had some things to say. I opened it out of curiosity, and it's, I shit you not, 12 paragraphs about his side of the story. During which he tried to explain Darvo gaslighted all away, said things he already admitted to and apologized for never happened, that he was never in love with me in the first place so he wouldn't say that, etc. Everything directly counteracts every apology or admission of guilt during our, recorded LOL, conversation, so I know damn well he's not actually sorry or remotely grown from that confrontation. Really reinforced my decision for me LMFAO. Commenter 2. Do not be surprised if he starts to stalk you and or reaches out to friends about how worried he is about your 1, mental health or 2, Cam's treatment of you. Reply. I'm not as worried about these, at least the latter with reaching out to my friends. My friends know full well that our relationship is healthy as hell, even my therapist has commented that it's one of the healthiest relationships she's ever seen, which is a nice little brag NGL considering the crap I've been through in life LOL, and I genuinely think they'd reach out to me before putting any stock in anything he could think of. We're kind of the parent friends of our social circle LOL, no kids, we just tend to love and care for our people ESP when in need. But regardless, I'm prepared if it does come to that. Especially after that email, I'm in the FAFO stage. Commenter 3. You are a badass. As someone who has panic attacks, don't be ashamed of yourself. I'm so glad you updated because I really wanted to know that you and Kaylee were gonna be okay. You handled this in the way that was best for you and your life, and that's all that matters. Wishing you the best, and I really hope you and Cam have a beautiful future together. Tell him that at least this Redditor thinks he's a really good partner. Commenter 4. What she did is so awesome. I am very, very awful at enforcing boundaries and can never bring myself to cut people off. I need to take a lesson from this. Also, I have totally platonic friendships with exes. It really is possible. We look at each other like siblings. Your husband is right. It's a them problem if they don't understand. Reply. This was definitely some new territory for me LOL, I've never ended a friendship before or cut someone off like that, let alone in a situation this utterly insane. Thank you so much. Stories number 11. My MIL asked my husband to subscribe to her OnlyFans to support her. My MIL, 40F, has always been very open about sex. When I first met my husband, she managed a sex toy store. About a year ago she started working towards a degree on sexual health and wellness, she nude models for a local artist, and around a month ago she started an OnlyFans account. Sex, and an openness about it, has always been an extraordinarily normal thing for her. I have absolutely nothing against her working in the sex industry. That's her forte, and I'm happy that she's doing well and enjoying what she does. However, I've had some slight concerns about it before. Not specifically her working in the sex industry, or her openness in general, more so how open she is. Especially with her own kids. For example, my husband and I started dating in high school, when she was managing the sex store. When she would come home from work, she would stop into my husband's, BF at the time, room, and hand us sample sizes of different lubes and sensation cream saying, I thought you guys might want to try some of these. It always made us both pretty uncomfortable, and it was extremely awkward to have my boyfriend's mom hand me things to try sexually with her son. But, nonetheless, the most conversation that my husband and I ever had about it back then was about how awkward it was. Awkward, and uncomfortable enough that we never actually used these things. They just piled up on a shelf by his bed. Another time, while we were dating, fresh out of high school, we were hanging out with his sisters. His mom was still working at the sex toy shop. Once in a while, she would come home with silly toys, and on this night, she walked in with a 1-foot-long glittery dildo. She playfully whipped it around towards us like a sword, his sisters screamed and ran from her, and for a while we all laughed and had fun about it. Snatching it from one another and chasing each other around with the glitter schlag. Eventually, my husband's sister, 17 at the time, said something like, "Mom, you better not have brought that home to use. That's crazy." My husband chimed off in view, saying he didn't need to think about that. And his mom laughed and replied, "Oh no, that's silicone. You know the toys I use are glass." Again, my husband made a weird face, but didn't say anything. When we got to his room, I said that it was weird that his mom talked to her children about what she uses to get her rocks off, and he told me that she's always been way too open about things that none of them wanted to know, but that she's always been this way, so he's just gotten used to tuning it out. As time went on, I got used to the openness. And it was just that, being too open about personal stuff within conversation. However, yesterday the openness went too far. My husband and I were sitting in our living room watching TV. My husband got a text from his mom and opened it, and had a visceral reaction. He tossed his phone down, stood up, walked away from it with his hands over his face, while saying things like, "Oh my God," and "Holy shit," under his breath. Naturally, I thought that someone had died, so I started frantically asking what was wrong. All he said was that he didn't even want to open his phone again. I asked again what was wrong, and he told me that his mom just sent him pictures. I was confused, but my concern started to grow. I asked what he meant by pictures, and he hesitated before saying, "I don't want to ask you to look, but I can't open it back up to delete it myself, so I need you to." My stomach dropped. I opened his phone to see what was there and I immediately felt nauseous. There was a text that read, "Hey, I know you've always supported me and I wanted to see if you'd be willing to subscribe to my so that I can get my numbers up while I'm still getting started. Of course I don't expect or want you looking through it, but the more subscriber numbers I have, the more engagement I can get. I was also wondering if you'd be willing to share my link to some of your friends at work. Husband is in a male-dominated, blue-collar job. The pics I included are to send to them with the link, but don't tell them I'm your mom." And under it was the pictures. There were 3 nude photos of his mother. And not just naked in a mirror, or pic of the boobs kind of photos. They were full-on pornographic photos. One of her tied up in BDSM gear, one of her face down ass up on her bed, and one of her with legs spread and a dildo halfway in her mouth. My blood was boiling. I deleted what she'd sent, and my husband and I were both silent for a moment. I didn't know what else to say or do, so I broke the silence by asking, "What now?" My husband told me to block his mom on his phone, so I did. I asked if this was something his mom has done before, and he said no. He told me that in the past, she's asked if he wanted to see pictures of the drawings she posed for. He always felt a bit guilty saying no, so he simply didn't respond when she asked, and she never sent it. Then, my husband went pale and started walking to the bathroom saying he felt sick. While he was in the bathroom, I blocked his mom on my phone as well, including her social medias. When my husband came back out of the bathroom, he called his sister. He asked her if she was with their mom, and when she said no, he explained to her what all had just gone down. His sister was also speechless. Then, he asked her not to say anything to other family members right now, and explained that neither him or I would be in contact with their mom for a while. He also told her that any time we were home for a visit, he would let his sisters know so that we could plan to see them, but that his mom would not be included in those plans from here on out. My MIL quickly realized that she was blocked on everything by the both of us, and by that night, she had the whole family blowing up our phones asking why. The constant messages haven't stopped, and so far we've just muted our phones as we don't even know what to say. How do you explain that your mother sent you her homemade porn? Update. My MIL asked my husband to subscribe to her OnlyFans to support her. Many asked for an update, so here is a small one for now. When my husband got home from work today, he did have me recover the messages for evidence should it be needed. I screenshotted the message with time stamps and each of the photos. In the photos, I scribbled over her, "not so," private areas as well. After that, I sent the images to my phone and once again deleted the messages from his phone, both in his mother's texts and mine, per husband's request. This was something that several people suggested in the comments of my previous post, and believe me, we were on the same page before I even read them. My husband and I are also regulars in therapy. Both individual and couples counseling. When we got married, we agreed that doing counseling from the get-go was a good idea. Not because we have problems in our marriage, but it gives us the tools to confront issues in the future and keeps us on the same page 100% of the time. That being said, I asked my husband if he'd ever mentioned his mother's sexualness in his own therapy and he said no. Since it is how she's always been raised, he saw it as mostly normal. I suggested that this should most definitely be brought up at his next session, and he agreed. I also asked if there was anything that has happened that was a bit overboard in the past. Outside of conversation, he said that his mothers would often come home from work with new lingerie, and she would put it on and wear it around the house for the rest of the night as if they were regular clothes. When she would do this, he would either stay in his room, or go to a friend's house because it made him uncomfortable. Several people asked why there hasn't been a conversation about her talking about uncomfortable topics. There has been. When my husband and I were dating, both of us minors, she would talk to my husband about our sex life explicitly. Some of the questions she's asked him are if he likes girls who are clean-shaven, if him and I were using lube, if I preferred ribbed condoms, if we had tried certain positions, even if I preferred stimulation via clitoris or G-spot. When she would ask these things, my husband simply wouldn't answer with more than, "I don't know," but eventually he did tell her to stop. He told her that he didn't want to talk about these things with her, that he knew I wouldn't want her talking about those things with her, and that her asking this stuff made him extremely uncomfortable. Her response was to get defensive and act as if she'd been disrespected. She would say that sex was normal, that she should be able to have these conversations with her son. She even accused him of shaming her sexuality. So, he went back to ignoring the questions altogether. Some suggested that we have an in-person conversation with her about this happening. Not only do we live far away, but we aren't ready for a conversation about it, and we especially aren't ready to discuss it in person. This happened yesterday afternoon. And it will honestly be a very long time before any sort of communication happens with her at all. I did find out what she'd been telling family. She's telling them that she asked if her son supported her. Not if he would subscribe and share her content. That is why family has been reaching out and asking why we've blocked her for asking that. We will be telling family exactly what happened, but we aren't quite ready to do so yet, and that will come within the next few days. We're still processing all of what's going on. My husband has a therapy session tomorrow, and we have one together the next day. We will likely wait to talk about this with family until after our sessions. That way we can get our ducks in a row a bit more, and we are even considering legal action. Again, that is something we will bring up with our therapists before continuing. That is the main reason we took screenshot evidence. For those curious, yes. MIL is young. She had my husband at 16 to 17, and we got married young as well. Very common among my family, and in the field of work he is in. And that field of work is the military. So, him sharing his mother's content would heavily affect him. Not just a firing, that would give him a sharp, sexual harassment assault response and prevention case, and a possible dishonorable discharge which would make it extremely difficult to go on after the military. That's all I have for an update right now, but trust that there will be another. Thanks so much for all of the advice and support I received on my last post. I seriously gained such good info from the comments and it's been really helpful. Final update, my MIL asked my husband to subscribe to her OnlyFans to support her. My husband and I have spoken with therapists about the entire situation, and we've drawn a conclusion to how we will handle things. As advised by our therapist, and based on what we've planned ourselves, my MIL will be cut off until she does the self-work and is no longer overly sexual towards family. That being said, my husband and I are prepared for her to be cut off permanently. She will likely not attend therapy herself, as she sees it as unimportant. I'm not sure if her opinion comes from her visiting a therapist previously, but she does believe that therapists just tell you everything wrong with yourself and why you need to change. They don't actually try to help your mental health, just make it worse. I'm sure everyone can imagine what has caused her to draw those conclusions. As of now, husband and I will not be pushing legal action. We've decided that for us, at this time, we would prefer to lay down the law in what we feel comfortable with. If that is respected, that is great and nothing more will come of it on our end. If that isn't respected, and there are more attempts to reach us such creating accounts etc., we will most likely seek out a restraining order. As I mentioned in a previous update, I have saved the screenshots from the original issue, so we will have that to present if needed. On to family. As a reminder, husband's side of the family was blowing up our phones asking why we would block MIL. What MIL told them was that we blocked her after she simply asked for our support in the things she's doing. What they didn't know was that she sent photos of herself. We told them, didn't send the photos of course, but did describe them. Things were understood quickly and nothing more was said. I don't know if family has taken it upon themselves to confront MIL about this. If they have, great, she needs it. If they haven't, oh well. Now, from my own perspective. I was raised in a family where everything was very taboo. Sex, sexuality, our bodies, even our periods were difficult to talk about. So much so, that when my mom found out I had a crush on a boy when I was 13, I cried and profusely apologized because I thought I would be in a lot of trouble. Asking questions wasn't okay either, so when I did have questions, I couldn't simply ask. For example, I overheard my mom say the word porn and didn't know what it meant. When I asked my parents what the word porn was, and I got sent to my room. So, at 7 years old, I grabbed the family tablet and Googled porn. Saw a bunch of naked people, got scared, put the iPad back in the living room. When my parents checked the search history that night, I was screamed at and not allowed to touch electronics for the rest of the year. With all of that in mind, a sex-positive family was so incredibly foreign to me. The idea of being able to go to your mom, ask about sex or your body, and have a conversation instead of getting in trouble, was completely new. When my husband and I were dating, I never knew that his mom was going too far. I thought that this simply was sex positivity. Of course, I had intuition that things went too far at times, like when I questioned the toy conversation, but when the response to my questions were, "She's just really open," I chalked it up to that and didn't really question it anymore. To answer some common questions. My MIL is not this much when it comes to my SILs. I always assumed it was because they were younger, but the pictures being sent to only my husband really hammered the nail into the covert incest coffin. Come to find out, MIL also isn't quite as open with SILs. She is open about her own doings, but doesn't meddle in their own like she did my husband. I mentioned before that she would question my husband on our sex life when we were dating. Another phone call with my middle SIL revealed that she's absolutely never done that to the girls. In fact, there have been times where she's overheard my SILs saying something about their boyfriends, and she would say, "Egg. Lower your voice, I don't want to know." Whereas she would straight up ask my husband about sex. Another common question was, "Where's FIL? He's never been in the picture." My husband's dad left when MIL was pregnant with her youngest daughter. MIL also doesn't have a father herself because he left when she was a baby. And, there aren't a lot of men in the family. 2 distant uncles, and a few cousins, but as far as close family, my husband was the only male growing up. And yes, some people got it right. My husband looks exactly like his bio dad. Same build, same hair type and color, same bone structure, same eye shape, even a very similar birthmark. That fact makes this even more gross altogether. And finally, no, we don't have children. However, I have always had concerns about leaving children alone with her because of the openness. I will know when my future children are ready to know about certain topics. Those conversations will come from my husband and I and only us. I've always been concerned that MIL would discard our opinions on that and give our future children the bird and bees talk whenever she felt like. Unless she cannot fix whatever is wrong in her brain, she will not ever be alone with our kids, and even possibly know them. But overall, this is my final in the whole situation. The original post was removed in this sub, so it's been reposted on my personal page for those interested in reading. I'll remain active on this account to answer questions, so if any other questions arise, ask away and I would be happy to answer. Thank you so much to everyone for all of the advice. I didn't even know the term, convert incest, before posting, and I'm grateful that I do now. It's given my husband and I something to do a little research about, and it's changed our perspective on the past quite a bit. My husband will be taking all of this into therapy more than just his last sessions, and at my next personal session I will likely bring it up too. It's also a topic that will be discussed at counseling together, more than just yesterday's session as well. Again, thank you everyone. Stories number 12. I, 34M, house sit for other people with the specific goal of going through their things. So I've been a house sitter dog watcher for a number of years. It's truly easy money. I'm excellent at what I do. Odds are your place will be cleaner than when you left for your vacation or work trip. I'll collect your mail and organize it by the date it was delivered, wash all my towels and bed sheets, never have guest over, etc., etc. However unknown to you and every person who has let me house sit. I'm going to go through your things. Specifically your clothes. Mainly just your clothes. I'll open and go through every closet, and open and go through all your drawers. Dresses, suits, bathing suits, sweaters, pants, skirts, underwear, scarves, jackets, hosiery, hats, you own it, I'm going to take a look. If I really like something, if it really catches my eye or gets my heart going, I'll try it on. I'll stand in front of your mirror and see how it fits me. I'll wear it around the house and see how it feels. Especially if you're a married woman, for some reason your things in particular I love to look through and wear. Yes, the thrill is doing something I'm not supposed to be doing and the thrill of possibly getting caught in your sexiest outfit. But mainly, if you thought it was nice enough to buy and wear, I want to see why. When I'm done, I'll fold it back up, or hang it exactly how I found it. You never know. How do I know? Because you've asked me to house sit again and again and again. It started when I was back in high school. My friends would have a party, and when everyone was outside, I'd go upstairs and see what their mom had tucked away, then I'd try it on, see how I looked, then fold it back and put it away like nothing ever happened. Then I started house sitting, and found out I could have free reign and not have to sneak around. I'm sure this all sounds incredibly creepy, and like a breach of trust. I'm not looking for advice, just wanted to get it off my chest. Looking back, it does feel wrong, so I regret it now. Stories number 13. Aita, for not rescheduling my wedding after my sister was widowed. I, 34M, am supposed to get married next month. Now I'm not sure it's going to happen. My partner's sister, 35F, was widowed last month. I've gotten a front row seat of how it has rocked my soon-to-be in-laws. Everyone has really tried going above and beyond for his sister, making sure she's as comfortable as possible. And I truly can't imagine, You'd probably have to institutionalize me if something happened to my boy. My partner's mom came to him a few days ago and asked if he would consider postponing the wedding. She said they would cover all the lost money, would help us replan, etc. Apparently his sister has said there's no way she can attend the wedding, and his mom knew how important it was to him to have her there, so she just wanted to offer an alternative plan. I'm not very sentimental, but my partner is. Our wedding was planned for the 10-year anniversary of when we met. That's something that meant a lot to him, which makes it mean a lot to me, too. I'm trying to be sympathetic, but I'm just fucking raging. I can't help it. My emotions aren't allowing me to be objective. I know his mom came to him in good faith, but it makes me so angry to think about this being put on his shoulders a month before our wedding. He was so excited. And now I'm worried that if we don't reschedule, he's just going to be in his head the whole time, feeling guilty and unable to fully enjoy himself. I know his sister is hurting. I'm trying my absolute hardest not to piss off the family that is soon to be mine, one that's already mine in a lot of ways. Still, I'm so mad. I'd appreciate some objective POVs. Edit, getting lots of she's and hers in comments. I'm a man. Doesn't having much weight in the story, just wanted to clear it up. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, this sounds like something you should discuss with your partner, not random people on the internet. Until you don't actually know how he feels. Whatever you decide together is the right decision for you as a couple. Just understand that there may be consequences with familial relationships depending on the choice you make. Reply, we've talked and he's torn. I'm trying to follow his lead because this impacts him more than me, but I'm just so frustrated. Never at him, but them for putting him in his position, by putting this weight on his shoulders. Planning has been a lot of work, but it's exciting because we know what's coming. Now we either have to do it for a second time, rebooking everything without that same excitement, or we have a wedding where no matter how good my partner feels, there will be guilt and sadness thrown in too. It's unfair. I'm half inclined to agree to cancel it all and elope. No distractions, just us. Commenter 2, cancel, get the money back from the in-laws. Elope to somewhere fantastic. Throw a killer first anniversary party. Reply, I'm open to this. I've always been indifferent to a big wedding. That's why I'm so focused on my husband's feelings throughout all of this. This is his baby. I just want to see him so happy. I'll talk to him about it. As long as he's satisfied, I am. And I guess there is an asshole part of me that's still frustrated with how long we spent planning only to have it thrown away, but that's something I'm trying to work on. Being flexible isn't always my strong suit. Commenter, yeah white yay. Do you have no sympathy? While I understand you have a wedding with a lot of expenses. This is a situation where you make the best of it as it wasn't intentional. Harboring resentment over something like this is wild. Reply, of course I have sympathy for them. I hate that any of this happened. Her husband was a good man. It's not about the expenses. I'm frustrated because my priority, my partner, is being put in a really shitty position. I'm more mad at the world than at his family. I just know how much this means to him. Like, that's my guy. My other half. I hate knowing he has to make this decision. I hate that he's going to feel selfish and weird about going through with something he's put his time, effort, heart into. It all fucking blows. OOP on if his in-laws really like him. Reply, my soon-to-be mother-in-law and I are really close. There have been circumstances in my life that have made me really wary of parental figures, but I trust her completely. That's why I know she made the offer with good intentions. OOP should consider on working things out with his fiancée to figure out what steps to take and have grace for his SIL and MIL, especially his partner on the family tragedy. Reply, I appreciate the perspective. Taking care of my fiancée feels like the easiest thing in the world. It always has. Taking care of other people doesn't come quite so naturally. For a large portion of my teens and early 20s, I was pretty isolated. Being by myself was something of a survival mechanism back then. And then I met him. I was kind of like the human embodiment of a one human pet who loves one person and reluctantly puts up with everyone else. I've grown up a lot in the decade I've known him. His family has been really good to me. But I think in times like these, when I'm scared and angry and sad, I go back to my one human stray cat mode, hoping that made even the tiniest semblance of sense. Not sure why all these animal analogies are coming out in my comments either. The point is, sometimes I'm not great at big picture. I can't imagine what it would be like in her shoes, having to go on with the knowledge of so many unlived moments. I'm not trying to be unempathetic at all. I'm just trying to juggle a lot right now. OOP on his fiancé making decisions regarding the wedding and how he is supporting him. Reply, my fiancé is going to make a decision over the next coming days, and I'm going to support whatever he chooses. This would be super nice though. I would love 2 weeks far, far away from everyone in the world besides him. Thank you for the kind comments, they mean a lot. I love him in a way I wish I could tell 15-year-old me about to give old me some hope. I would do any number of ridiculous things to make him happy. He's the kindest, sweetest person. Gentle and warm. I learned so much from him. Smiley face. Update. I'm a married man. I let my husband take the lead on making the decisions here and let him know I would support whatever he chose. After some discussion, we decided to cancel the wedding and elope instead. My husband said he wouldn't feel right, gathering all his family and our friends without his sister present, but it was still very important to him that we got married on the date we first met. It was perfect. It was exactly the right choice. It was quiet and intimate in us. There's nothing in the world I love more than seeing him smile, and he was stuck in perpetual, laughing face, mode. I was so worried if we had the wedding, I would look over and see him looking anything less than thrilled because it wasn't how he envisioned it without his sister there. I think the complete change in expectation made it easier for him to let go. Again, exactly the right choice. We're on cloud 9. In the lead up, there was a lot of calling vendors, friends, and family to let them know we were canceling. It was very short notice and we weren't rescheduling anything, so we lost all of our deposits. Our loved ones were really understanding of our decision, at least over the phone. We had very few people flying in, only 3 friends, and his mom agreed to cover their flights as well. Finally, to address my anger. Most of it was directed towards the universe, but I'll admit that I was mad at my mother-in-law. Discussions about our wedding and his sister's grief were ones we were already having. Still, a third party coming to him and making this request felt cruel, in the moment. It felt like a guilt trip, like unnecessary pressure on my husband when he was already having to make these decisions anyway. We eventually made the choice we wanted to make, but he did tell me at one point he didn't want his mom to think he was heartless if we had the wedding without his sister. Emotions were running high for everyone. I don't think his mom would ever think he's heartless. I know no one was out to get us. His mom was doing her best to make the day comfortable for everyone and navigating that is basically impossible. Still, I'm not sorry for my anger. And maybe that still makes me the asshole, but I'll be the asshole who loves his husband and puts him first in every situation. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, congratulations to both. To a lifetime of happiness. Reply, thank you, and all the other commenters sending congratulations. I feel so lucky. Peace was something that didn't exist for me for most of my life, particularly in my late teens, early 20s. Then he came along and changed everything. Commenter 2, does the family know yet? Reply, nope. We've been in a hotel suite having a little staycation all weekend, so neither of us have been on our phones much at all. My mind has just been on him, haha. Commenter 3, NTA. You put your husband first, made a kind choice, and handled it with love. Congrats on your marriage. Update 2, I wanted to give one last update, just answering some final questions that people had. My MIL did make good on her promise to cover costs. She reimbursed 3 friends of ours for their flights, and us for all the money we lost in deposits. She is also now aware that we're married. My husband went over to help her with something and she noticed his ring. I wasn't there, so this is a second-hand account from him. She was apparently a little annoyed and talked about how much she wanted to be there and that canceling didn't mean we had to still run out and get married, especially without telling her. My husband said he was firm in letting her know that we appreciated her reimbursing us, but that our wedding wasn't something she could just place continuous demands on. The only person he has trouble standing up to is his mom, and he said, I was thinking the whole time about how you'd be proud of me. And I am so proud of him. It's probably best I wasn't there. He handled it and there was no risk of me running my mouth. Sal still doesn't know. She's, understandably, not doing great right now. Neither of us have seen her for a couple weeks now, but my husband tries to get her on the phone at least once every few days. Will we reschedule? I'm letting my husband have the final say with this. Recently we've been leaning towards an extended honeymoon instead. And finally, am I a sociopath? This question wasn't posed directly to me, but was being discussed on a different subreddit, along with speculations about my family life and comments wondering why I didn't mention my husband's reaction to the death. I can put the sociopath rumors to rest. I have a lot of very intense feelings, which is pretty antithetical to the whole concept. It is true my home life wasn't safe or happy, though. I feel like I've made that pretty clear without diving into details. Being gay and being raised by small-minded people is rough. I was in therapy for years. So yeah, I'm not great at extended family dynamics. I try. My husband understands. That man has met me where I'm at so many times and I'm so grateful. Oh, I love him. Being treated gently after never having experienced that before was, and still is, life-altering. I didn't come here to discuss anyone's grief in detail. I still won't be doing that. It's not necessary and it's very personal. These posts were about rescheduling the wedding and that question has been answered. Thank you for all the advice given and all the kind words. It really helped me figure out a solution and feel my emotions without burdening those close to me with them. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. An extended honeymoon sounds like a really lovely idea, and for what it's worth, I really don't think you are a sociopath for wanting to go through with the wedding. If you had demanded she attend your wedding and made a huge fuss about her not going, that would have been sociopathic. But that wasn't what you were doing. Take a long honeymoon. Focus on you two and let this all be a reminder to enjoy each other as much as you can while you have each other. Maybe also send Sil some flowers or a care basket so she knows you are thinking about her. Get her a little something special while overseas so she has something to cheer her up when you guys come back. Reply, my husband is happy with sightseeing or being the person who rots on a lounge chair in a resort, he's up for either. And usually I'm anti-resort but now I'm considering how nice it would be to just take 2-3 weeks and relax. The ultimate dream is Scotland for me. The photos make it look so beautiful, but I'm thinking maybe we save Scotland for a regular vacation and stick to something less busy for the honeymoon. I don't want to go somewhere where we'll regret just staying in our room for a few days out of the trip, you know. Euro locations have so much to do and see that we'll want to be out every single day versus a resort. I will happily lock myself away for a while, haha. If anyone has any recommendations, feel free to drop them. Adult only plus privacy are both really important to us. We've been looking into Serenity at Coconut Bay in St. Lucia but we're very much still just discussing and dreaming right now. Commenter 2, I'm really confused why anyone would think you were a sociopath. That seems a bit much. Reply, it was a bit much. It's actually a pretty long comment. You can read it here. One part says, and it feels like OOP is deciding that this date is so very important to his husband, without ever really talking to the man. That's not even being uncharitable about the situation, that's just completely making things up, aha. Commenter 3, NTA you set boundaries, handled it with compassion, and protected your peace. That's not selfish, it's healthy. Let the gossipers talk. You chose love, not drama. Enjoy that extended honeymoon, you earned it. Commenter 4, I'm sorry there was some kind of confusion on your end. We planned to get married on that date, and we had chosen the people we preferred to be with us when we did it. You asked us to cancel it, we did. That doesn't mean we changed our date or plans to be married, just that we agreed we wouldn't do it where we wanted it with the people we wanted around us. That's how these things work. Done. ETA, Congress, and I'm so happy for you too. Stories number 14, Sacked Police. Computer misuse and on holiday. I was a clerk at a company for about 18 months. I had a raging row with the owner and he fired me. I wanted to quit anyway as he bullied incessantly and didn't want to work my notice as he was horrible. I am not expecting any compensation. I left in the middle of March 2025. Last week the ex-boss has been calling me and screamed down the phone at me to fix something IT related. I have blocked him. I am camping this week with the kids as it's half term. My dad is house sitting for the pets and says the police turned up looking for me due to a computer crime at work. They thought he was me. They used an ancient system at the company using WISE terminals. The computer that controlled the manufacturing plant had floppy disks. Every 127 days a batch file had to be run or the machine would stop working. I have no idea what the file did, my predecessor just said it had to be done. Insert floppy disk, open DOS. Run reset.bat. If this isn't done the machine stops working. It is in the manual for the job. I know last week they would have come to the end of the 127 days and the machine would have stopped working. The manufacturer no longer exists and there is no other support. I had no intention of helping the man as he was constantly horrible. Do I have to help? What do I do? Re the police. Comments. Commenter 1. You probably should find out what they're accusing you of before deciding how you should respond. Commenter 2. You were sacked, you don't have to give him the time of day. Computer misuse includes things like spreading malware, hacking, etc., but also intentionally making changes to negatively affect the system, and as you were last there in March, I wouldn't sweat it too much. He probably tried running it himself, screwed it up, and is trying to pin it on you. Commenter 3. I'd agree. Your ex-employer probably thinks you've left some sort of timed program that breaks the system after you've been fired for a while. There was a case in the press recently. Unless you have done that, instead of a job that needed to be done but wasn't because you no longer work there, you should be clear. Commenter 4. Obviously you don't have to help. That would be akin to forced labor. I would contact the police, as obviously some sort of offense has been reported. Chances are it will be a voluntary interview, ask for a solicitor. Reply, thank you all for your kind input. Home and put the kids to bed. To clear up a few points. I have not changed anything on the computer. I wouldn't know how to. I want help them. I know it would make life so much easier for me, but my time there was awful. I was never paid on time or fully. The abuse was constant, swearing, throwing things etc. He has not paid my 2 weeks' notice. When I left, the last thing on my mind was what will happen at the end of the 127-day cycle. I was just glad to be able to sleep at nights without getting sick about having to go back to that place. I had put him and his business out of my mind. I started to get phone calls from the ex-boss. He owns the company. These were rude and every other word was swear word, so I put the phone down. The phone calls continued getting more and more rude, swearing, cussing etc. I didn't think about blocking his number. I should have. The final straw was the last call, which was outrageous. He said if I didn't fix the computer he would rape and kill my wife, and then do the same to my kids in front of me, then kill me. Every word was followed by an expletive, and because of this there is absolutely no way I will help this man. I have told the police this, but they have taken no action against him that I know of. I get he must have been desperate, his business had been unable to fulfill orders for over a week, probably 2, and must be hemorrhaging cash. I have refused to speak to the police again until I can get a proper solicitor, and hopefully will be able to get one sorted before Thursday, which is the next day that the police officer is available. Commenter 5. It was documented and was an IT business process before you even began. It's assumed you did not withhold documentation or destroy documentation prior to your dismissal. You need to contact the police and find out what you're actually being accused of before proceeding. I'd ask for a solicitor. Do you have to help him? No, he fired you. You could offer to contract for him at an obscene rate you decide. It sounds like he screwed up a process and wants someone to blame. Reply, it is documented on the list of routine tasks the last clerk gave to me. It is also documented in the lever arch files that contain the operating instructions for the machine. There are 8 of them. It also confirmed that the machine was built in 1991. Commenter 6. The fact the system is ancient won't carry much weight, you'd be amazed at what airports run on. But I digress. Again, you don't need to help this guy in rereading your opening post. You've done nothing wrong, but you will need to reach out to and cooperate with the police. It sounds like a handover didn't take place and that isn't your problem. Reply, a handover didn't take place. The conversations was, you're effing fired, now get the feck out. The disk is where it always was, on top of the computer box, under the wise green terminal screen. Update. On phone. Please excuse typos. England. Comfort break outside police station. Found out firm has not been able to make anything using the machine for over a week. Likely to shut down. Found out that the DOS prompt is C. It needs to be A, before the reset bat can be run. They have the disk. They type reset.bat but nothing happens. I refuse to tell them how to fix this. It is nothing that I have done. The DOS box always prompted C, you need to type A, reset bat. The police officer says under Section 3 of the Computer Misuse Act, I am committing a crime because by not helping I am hindering access to any program. Threatening to charge me. Duty solicitor is agreeing, even though I told him that I have done nothing and I have done nothing. I know very little about computers. I was a clerk raising invoices. What do I do now, please? Can I ask for a different solicitor? Thanks so much. Comments. Commenter 1. Unless I am misunderstanding things, get a different solicitor. You don't appear to have done anything that constitutes an offense. Commenter 2. I agree, you need a solicitor that specializes in the IT field. Though I suspect this would get thrown out in court, with the right people to explain the issue. You aren't hindering, they just aren't following a process which you happen to have knowledge of. It's not your fault they failed to follow the process. Commenter 3. In addition to this, it could be worth writing to the police and have an officer who deals with computer-related crimes to review it. I suspect the company has painted a story in a particular light and it needs a little more scrutiny from a cop who knows what they are talking about. Commenter 4. You are not breaching the Computer Misuse Act. Your employer required you to use ancient tech. Using this system legitimately required you to do specific actions on a regular basis as part of your employment. Your employer is no longer employing you to do this thing. Therefore you have no responsibility for this thing being done. This is everything the police need to know. Hindering access isn't a crime, as you are under no obligation to help out an ex-employer. I think the duty solicitor has erred here and the police are heavily misinformed. This assumes you haven't installed an additional program to prevent this thing from being done, of course. Commenter 5. The bigger questions is, why didn't any previous tech copy the bat file to C, and configure the AutoXX script to run it after reboot at any point in the last 30 years? Commenter 6. Only conclusion is they haven't had anybody with any technical know-how for those 30 years since the .bat file was written. Commenter 7. If they are on wise dumb terminals, they are probably using a locked-down OS that resets to a default image on startup. You'd have to have the knowledge to modify the image to add something permanently. Reply, previous tech. There has been no previous tech. The computers still had old VDUs, not LCDs. The previous clerk had been there for well over 20 years and he couldn't even open email. I understand that he's in an old person's home now. Update. I have been told that my ex-employer went into receivership on Monday morning after failing to secure an overdraft to pay wages on the last Friday of the month. Because of the abuse and threats that I have received from them, I have no sympathy. The police case was still pending, so I still had to find a competent solicitor, which I did after a lot of calling around. I got a call back from one who was more interested in the goings-on at the company. She explained that she was employed by a firm of business advisors and was involved in a case involving my employer. I asked in what capacity and she said my ex-employer was suing them for wrecking their system. They had been called in to update the systems and changed accounts package, and also whilst they're asked to recommend changes to the computer that controlled the machinery. It turns out it wouldn't boot at all. From dates she gave me, this was clearly before my ex-boss started to call and rant at me. It had also been moved from the office to the shop floor next to the machines that it controlled. They are being blamed for it not booting because they asked for it to be switched on. The solicitor said she can't help me, but a colleague in her practice can. He was very good and made some phone calls, and on Tuesday we had a voluntary interview with a different police officer, sergeant, at a police station a couple of towns away who was a computer crime expert, and with me there the solicitor discussed the other legal case, that I hadn't been there since the computer had moved. The new officer said that I have no case to answer. Comments. Commenter 1. From what you've described, if the PC is not booting up at all, then it could be that the moving the PC has possibly caused the hard drive to fail. Older mechanical HDDs are very susceptible to impact damage, and if this drive was old and on its way out anyway, the slightest of knocks might have been the final straw. Any competent company would have ensured that they had full metal backups of all business-critical systems in the event that something like this occurred, but as other people have pointed out, this is not your responsibility nor is it your problem to deal with. Glad you got it sorted out eventually though. Commenter 2. Old computer next to a milling machine. Is it likely that the big electric motor in the milling machine wiped the hard disk and floppy disks? Commenter 3. That must be a huge relief. Now please make a strong complaint to the police about them getting involved and subsequently involving you in something that was clearly not a police matter from the start. Refusing to help an ex-employer is not a crime. Even if you knew exactly what was wrong, and clearly you did not, even though you thought you might, given what you have just written about the machine moving etc., it is not the job of the police to force you to work for free for anyone. Commenter 4. 100% this OP, don't walk away feeling lucky, you got messed around big time and are due some form of restitution. Stories number 15. Aita for telling my husband I'd rather raise a kid who stands up for themselves than one who blindly obeys. I'm 32F, my husband is 31M. We have a 6-year-old son, Leo. He's a sweet, curious kid who's really into dinosaurs and loves riding his little blue bike. Last weekend, I went grocery shopping while my husband stayed home with Leo. Apparently, Leo was outside riding his bike and left it in the front yard while he went inside to get water. A few minutes later, our neighbor, Ms. Robert, came over saying her grandson, 8M, saw Leo take his bike. My husband looked out, didn't see Leo's bike, and assumed the worst. He confronted Leo, who insisted he didn't steal anything. He said his bike was gone. My husband didn't believe him and told him he was grounded, no TV, no tablet, until he told the truth and apologized. Leo refused, saying, I didn't take anyone's bike. Why are you punishing me when I didn't do anything? Later that afternoon, Ms. Robert returned, visibly embarrassed. Turns out her grandson had taken Leo's bike to the park because he thought it looked cooler. He made the whole story up to avoid getting in trouble. When I got home, my husband explained the situation. I figured, okay, you'll apologize to Leo and this will be a learning moment. But nope, he doubled down. He said Leo still needed to be punished for disrespect and refusing to obey. I said, so you want to punish him for telling the truth and standing up for himself? He said, it's the principle. He needs to listen, even when he doesn't agree. And I said, I'd rather raise a boy who knows how to stand up for himself than one who just lays down and accepts mistreatment. Especially when he's innocent. We got into a pretty heated argument. He says I'm being unreasonable and dramatic and undermining him as a parent. But I don't think I'm wrong for wanting to teach my son that it's okay to say no when something is unfair, even if it's coming from a parent. Stories number 16. Aita for not taking over childcare duties until the parent actually left. I, 44F, agreed to watch my nephew, 29, son, 2, for an hour while he took a shower and relaxed. We live in side-by-side duplexes, so it's easy to pop over and help out. About 30 minutes in, he is still at my place, hanging out and talking. The baby poops, and I say, perfect, you're still here, you can change him. He smirks and says, nah, I'm not gonna be able to do that, and starts going on about how he's got other family members trained. He said when he goes to his siblings' homes, they change the baby even if he's still there. I told him, look, I change at least 2 poopy diapers a day, I'm just not gonna do it while you're standing right here. I'm a school nurse and have a couple of students with special needs that I assist with daily. He changes the diaper, but then spends the next 20 minutes venting, saying how he's trying to get a break from the baby and how it doesn't make sense for him to come drop the baby off and still have to do anything. He said next time he'll just leave right away instead of staying to catch up, or maybe he should have just taken the baby back with him. At one point he even asked why my mother, who lives in the duplex on the other side of me, couldn't change the baby, and how she needed to spend more time with him. I was like, so you think she wants that time to be spent changing a poopy diaper? He started raising his voice, and I had to say multiple times, just go take your shower. You're wasting time arguing. Eventually, he cooled off, took his shower, and came back to pick up the baby. I'm wondering if I'm the asshole because I agreed to watch his child, but refused to take over since he hadn't actually left. For background, I'm divorced mom. I have a 5-year-old and a 27-year-old. I've been parenting for a long time, and I've always handled things myself. I was happy to help once he actually stepped out. For context, the child's mom was also at home but in an online class. Edit, I know this might sound surprising after that story, but he actually does most of the caregiving. The mom tends to get overwhelmed easily, so I think he tries to avoid conflict by not asking her for help. He's asked me to watch the baby while he's cutting the grass or barbecuing after getting home at 7 p.m., and when I ask, where's she at, he gets a little defensive. At this point, my mom and I both understand he's under pressure, and we do care, but we've also had to set boundaries. We can't always be the go-to just because it's hard for him to advocate for himself at home. Stories number 17. My 19F manager, 25M, had unlocked my phone and was recording a private video of me and my partner onto his own phone, and I caught him. I work in a retail store with different departments. This involved the manager of my specific department. Today, he suggested that I, and the other colleague working our department go and help out on another department, since we were finished for the time being, and the other department was short-staffed. This was nothing new, and happens a lot. We all went down there and worked together for a bit. He disappears, I assume he's just been called elsewhere, and think nothing of it. I had left my phone to charge in the office, which I haven't done before today. I was running very low though and needed it to last. I did hide it, but I understand it was stupid of me to leave it like that. I finish what I'm doing before I'm due back, but I head back anyway. I go into the office to check my phone and find my manager with my phone in one hand, his phone in the other. I had approached close enough as he noticed me to see that he had his video recorder running on his phone, but he had managed to close my phone. His hands were shaking violently. For clarification, I didn't know that he knew my password. I asked why he was on my phone and what the hell he was doing. He claimed he was just taking a picture of my Pokemon on Pokemon Go to send to a friend on Snapchat. I then asked why would unlock my phone just for that, why didn't he ask, and why were his hands shaking? He says they aren't shaking, but they are, and really violently. I unlocked my phone and he had closed the app so it was on the home screen. So I looked at my open apps list and there, open, was an extremely private video of me and my partner. I don't wish to elaborate, but I hope you can fill in the gaps. He had been recording this private video to his own phone. I freaked out and ran off to the staff area and to the toilets. By this point I was crying hysterically and a manager of another department had seen me run in there. She came to ask if I was okay, what was wrong, I said at the time I couldn't say. She said that was fine, and to go home if I needed to. She suggested I get a drink and some fresh air. I went outside, and my manager was out there. He pleads with me to talk to him, that he's really sorry, trying to grab me etc. etc. I told him to leave me alone and do not talk to me, and walked outside the car park as far as I could without leaving the site. He thankfully didn't follow me. I called my friend to pick me up, went back inside to collect my stuff and left. I called my boyfriend as soon as he got off work and he urged me to call the store manager and report him. My friend is saying to do this too. I'm worried about reporting him because I feel like it will destroy my friendships with other colleagues who are also good friends with him, and I don't want to do that, but I also know that I can't go back to work with him anymore. It feels like a lose-lose for me. I like my job, besides what happened today, and I don't want to lose it, but I feel like if I don't leave and report him, I'll be driven out. I'm sorry this is all so jumbled but my head is a mess. I'm so worried and mortified and upset. He had texted me apologizing saying he deleted the video he took, but how do I know this? What if he took more than one video? What if he distributes this? That's not only damaging to me, but my poor partner too. What if I let him get away with it, and he ends up doing it to someone else? I can't trust him. I don't know what to do. I feel so violated. My boyfriend is going as far to suggest police. I don't want to do that. But I have to do something. Does anybody have any advice on how to go about this? Again, I'm sorry for how jumbled and ridiculous my words may sound but I can't think straight. Thank you all. TL, my manager recorded an extremely private video of myself and my partner from my phone. My partner is pushing to me to report but I'm worried about consequences. Going as far as to suggest police. Desperately seeking advice on what steps to take next. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Your partner is right. You should report this, and you should take it to the police. Reply. I have read all comments, which lead me to think it best to take it to highest management first, and based on the outcome I will decide whether to take it to the police. I'd like to avoid police if I am able to. But I will if I need to. Thank you very much for your advice. Commenter 2. Please call the police. He accessed your phone without your consent. How the fuck did he even get your passcode? I shudder to think, and was not only watching an intimate video of you, but he was fucking recording it. Management will investigate, sure. But he will have deleted the videos by the time they do. You need to call the police now because they will confiscate his phone and be able to recover the videos. Store management law enforcement. They can't take his phone. They can't search his phone. Law enforcement can. This man is a sexual predator, and I'm sure your coworkers will be able to see this once he's arrested. Commenter 3. Save the text from him admitting what he did. Reply. I have taken a screenshot of it. OOP replying to a deleted commenter that the stolen videos were for the manager's personal use. You're right. As far as his intentions go, I would have guessed personal use. I probably should have mentioned this but he had already told me before he finds me attractive, but he seems to find everyone attractive. I hear him laughing with other colleagues about people they see who they find giggity, I know. I always found this quite disgusting and weird especially since he actually has a fiancé, and I have a boyfriend, but I knew it wasn't my place. Another colleague assured me this is just him being him. I thought it better just to let it slide. I thought seeing as he had a fiancé I was pretty safe. I guess not. Should I have seen this sooner? I feel so stupid, but you're right. I don't trust him, I don't know what he could do. I'll report to the store manager. Thank you for your advice. Edit. Hello everyone, I just woke up and it's the next day. I want to sincerely thank every one of you who commented and gave advice, I am eternally grateful. I have to go to work in about an hour and I am going straight to the store manager and/or HR and reporting this once I get there. Many of you are suggesting I go straight to the police as well and I am strongly considering it, as people have said he may still have traces of the video that I definitely want destroyed. I need to speak to my boyfriend first though because I'm scared of dealing with the police on my own. So far I'm definitely going to be seeing a manager though. I will post an edit at the end of it. Again, my deepest gratitude. I will try to respond to comments when I get some time. You guys are fantastic. Thank you. Update. Hello everyone. First of all, big apologies for how long overdue this update is. Since the rules limit me for one update only I wanted to have the most full outcome to give you. Thank you all so much for your help and support and advice. I didn't expect so many people to respond to me and I really am grateful. Sadly the outcome isn't so happy. My conclusion from the original post was to go to highest management first and then police if the result wasn't satisfactory, which is what I did. I went straight to the store manager the morning after my post and was advised to write up and sign a formal grievance, which I did. I then met with 2 other managers to discuss the details of what happened and any other relevant stuff. They told me they'd talk to the manager in question and any witnesses and get back to me in a week after investigations had taken place. In the meantime, my manager was not allowed to work with me and was told to reschedule all his shifts or work elsewhere. A week passed and I heard nothing. When I went to find out, apparently due to staff holidays it couldn't be completed in time. I asked how much longer and was told a week. I felt this was too long and was really restless by this point already, and so my boyfriend came with me to speak to the police. We explained the situation and my details were taken down, and then we met with a sergeant. To summarize, she told us that in the UK there is no specific law against accessing someone's private phone, recording off someone's private phone without permission. As such, they are unable to search his phone as no arrests can be made. The only thing they could do was go to his house and explain it had been reported and that if he ever distributed it he would be arrested, which they did, and he lied to the police and said he hadn't done anything. Sadly, they said there was nothing more they could do. The internal investigation then concluded and I was told my manager had denied everything, made up a false excuse for the apology text he sent me and basically called me a liar. They told me that there is no CCTV where it happened and nobody who was in the area at the time saw anything. No shit, they were the complete opposite end of the room, as I had already explained. They tried to say they weren't taking sides, but to be honest it seemed like they were. They're moving me from the department instead of him, because moving him is harder. I really enjoyed my job and now basically I have to suffer because my manager is a disgusting liar. They don't seem to care how serious this is. I ended up almost crying when they legitimately said, maybe you didn't see anything at all. I feel like they're accusing me of lying and imagining it, even though one of the managers involved was the one that caught me in the corridor bawling my eyes out. I really wish I could have given a happy update. I'm so upset that I have to move and give up something I enjoy when he gets off without even a slap on the wrist, goes on knowing he can probably do this again to someone else and carry on being the scumbag he is, not to mention, he might still have the videos. He may have distributed them already, but how the hell would I know? I have no idea what to do now. The police say nothing else can be done. If anyone has any legal advice around this issue within the UK law, then I would be very grateful for that. Sorry for the length, and if it's worded badly. Again, thank you all for your advice. I'm sorry this was a bad update. TLDR, went to higher management and police about how I caught my manager recording a private video from my phone to his phone. He lied to both. Management say not enough evidence to do anything. He gets to keep his job but I have to lose mine. Police say nothing can be done due to no UK law surrounding the subject. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Wow, that is such shit. Have you thought about going to a lawyer or going to the media? Maybe you didn't see anything at all. This makes me fucking sick. Also, even though you're in the UK, our legal advice still may be able to help. Reply. I'd rather not go to the media due to the sensitive nature of the subject, to be honest. As for a lawyer, I have no experience with lawyers or anything like it, so I wouldn't know where to begin, and I don't know if I could afford one. Commenter 2. I don't know how it is in UK law, but because of the differences between the word sorry in the Commonwealth versus the States, sorry in the USA is an admission of guilt, whereas sorry in Canada is also more commonly used as a funeral sorry. It may not be admissible as an apology. Commenter 3. Yes, but he told her he deleted the video in one of these texts. That's pretty convincing. Reply. He told the managers that the reference in his text to deleting something was about something completely different. IIRC. He made out like he was going to send a text to someone regarding my well-being or something. He made like I had confided something that I didn't want other people knowing and was mad he was going to tell other people. By the looks of it, they believed him. Commenter 4. I know, it sucks because the guy always and in all cases deserves the benefit of the doubt. Commenter 5. Honestly, people almost always take the side of someone who has a higher rank and or they know for a longer amount of time. Sadly, there doesn't seem to be any evidence to help OP. Reply. They actually said they were moving me instead of him because it was harder to move someone of a higher position. He's needed, and they'd have to reduce his pay, which would be unfair on him. Commenter 6. That's such bullshit. A phone might be a telecommunications device, but these days it's also a personal computer, and unauthorized access of a computer is a crime under the Computer Misuse Act in the UK. There's bound to be something they can do. Reply. The sergeant did say that she thought it was ridiculous it wasn't specifically outlawed, but of course she has to abide to the book. It might be worth mentioning the Misuse Act. OOP added more to a similar comment. The police have told me to come straight away if I ever found it had been distributed. It's been reported, so they said they'd react to it quickly. I have considered asking his fiancée to check his phone, but I want to avoid dragging innocent parties in if I can. But it may be necessary. Thank you so much. I'm really grateful. I've applied for other jobs, I'm hoping I'll hear back. Stories number 18. Aita for telling a friend exactly why my wife and I wouldn't go on a trip with her. My wife and I, both 32, both F, have a friend named Anna, 33. Anna is so sweet, very funny, and can also be very naive. While this isn't always a bad thing, she is at times ignorant of how the world works, news, etc. Anna has family that owns a large vacation property in another country. She's long wanted to take a friend's trip there, and is finally planning on doing so. Multiple people have been invited, and this past weekend when she and I got coffee, my wife and I were invited. The problem is, homosexuality is criminalized in this country. In case you missed it, I am a woman married to a woman and I would not feel safe traveling there. I would especially be worried about my wife. She has a very classic, butch, look, whereas I am more feminine. I know a lot of times these laws will pertain more towards gay men, but still. We would not feel safe, and that's what matters. For what it's worth, my wife knew we were probably going to be invited and said, fuck no, to any idea of traveling there when I mentioned it. I didn't make a choice for the both of us by myself. I told Anna, no, I'm sorry, but my wife and I would not be able to travel there. Well, she pressed why. I said, because we're gay. That country criminalizes gay people. She just said, oh, and kind of awkwardly changed the topic. Later though, I got a text. She said she felt I embarrassed her for not knowing, and while she didn't know, it's not like she's homophobic or anything, just that she wants to go on a trip there, and why did I have to be so blunt about it? I'm really frustrated, and also, I feel bad. I'm not sure why. I guess I could have made an excuse, that airfare is pricey right now or we had something else planned, but my wife is saying I didn't do anything wrong. I don't know. Aita Reddit forgot to add, but I didn't include which country because I felt it was wrong. The government etc. makes these choices. I would feel bad putting the blame on a whole country that certainly has an LGBTQ population, hidden or not. It's in the Middle East, and that's all I'll say. Stories number 19. My wife returned from a work retreat with a hickey. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I'm at loss. How do I move forward? I'm 27M, in a fight with my wife, 28F. We've had fights before but not this bad. I'm at a loss on how to proceed. For context, we're college sweethearts married for almost 6 years. We have a daughter, 4F. Our relationship was never perfect or without challenges. We've faced some family opposition with cultural differences, but we've made it work. She's my first love and my best friend. My wife works in corporate. Her job has annual work retreats that last for about a week. This year was in Vegas. I usually arrange my work schedule and tag along with her, and we make our own trip out of it. We couldn't this year. Our daughter gets major anxiety traveling long distances. We're working on it, but she wasn't budging, and we decided to choose our battles. So I stood behind and held down the fort at home. The change of plans was a bummer because the trip was part of us reconnecting as both a couple and as a family. My wife's work hours have taken a toll, and her work-life balance leaves much to be desired. We entertained the idea of her skipping the retreat. Attendance is optional, but it's generally frowned upon if you don't, and my wife's making connections in her field. She grew increasingly weird. We have a system if either of us is away for extended periods. We keep in contact. For the first day or so, she was herself, but she grew distant. I'd even text her about important stuff and be left on read while she claimed she never saw my text. Whenever we talked, she was rushing me or our daughter off the phone. These were all times she wasn't involved in retreat activities. We were supposed to have a mini birthday celebration for our daughter over FaceTime. Our daughter was excited. It was something my wife promised her because the retreat overlapped her actual birthday. But my wife backed out because she had people up to her room after a seminar. It was like she wanted my permission to break her promise to our daughter. I told her I wasn't offering that nor making her keep her word. She said I wasn't being fair, and this was a networking opportunity. They were business-oriented and wouldn't understand her stepping away for family time. I said her decision is her decision, but she'd have to explain it to our daughter. She promised her that she'd rain check the following day. Our daughter didn't understand and cried. My wife ended up hanging up and leaving me to comfort our daughter alone. That whole incident rubbed me the wrong way. I didn't like it. She didn't keep her word for the rain check either. She was documenting the retreat on social media. One coworker, 23M, was almost in every pic video attached to her hip. In one pic he had his arm too comfortably around her imo. He's a recent hire in my wife's department. She was asked to oversee him. I don't like the guy. He doesn't know boundaries. Once, in response to a work assignment, he texted my wife that she's exactly the kind of woman he needs to keep him in check. My wife had brushed it off. She feels bad for him because he's not fitting in. She took him under her wing during his first retreat with the team. If I'd questioned, she'd say she was tired or networking. There was always something. But I've seen her at these retreats. This wasn't like her. She was just off. The day before her return home, she complained about a bruise on her neck. She stressed it was a bug bite. I didn't actually see the bruise until she came home. I instantly thought it was a full-on hickey. She kinda brushed it off after making a big deal of it over the phone. I didn't push because our daughter was present, but when I was able to confront her, she clung to her bug bite claim. When I kept pushing, she asked what I was trying to imply. I outright said I believed she had a hickey, and I didn't believe she was being honest with me. We had it out then. She was offended and pissed at the accusation. Infidelity has always been a sore topic. Her family has a history of infidelity, so we had a pretty bad fight, and she accused me of looking to pick a fight due to the incident with our daughter's birthday. I told her it had nothing to do with that and everything to do with a hickey on her neck. The fight ended in an impasse. We're still not recovered. She swears it's a bug bite. But I'm not convinced. I've always trusted my wife. I never doubted her, but this bruise doesn't look like a bug bite. It looks like a hickey. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the Vegas retreat. Now she's wearing turtlenecks ever since, and we're caught between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. Communication usually prevails for us, but not now. I think my accusation pushed us to a new level of argument. I'm at a loss here. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I've never gotten a bug bite that looked like a hickey. Did she show you her phone or provide any proof that could support her innocence or just dismiss you? The extra affection is a common move from guilt-ridden cheaters. Even if we stretch the imagination and believe it is a big bite, she wasn't acting trustworthy nor was she a good mother while they was in Vegas, and she needs to address and correct that. Reply. No, I haven't had access to her phone. We usually have an open phone policy, but it's not something we've ever really done. I'm sure it'll be another argument. Commenter 2. Why did you go on work trips with her in the past? Did she want you to, or did you not want her to go alone? What is, and why is it necessary to have, the system when one of you is away? Whose idea was the FaceTime birthday celebration? Did she not talk to the daughter at all on her birthday or just couldn't do the FaceTime celebration? Reply. Work-life balance was an issue, so she'd invite me on the retreats. The system is for an extended periods away from each other, like how long the retreat was. Especially since we have a child now. The birthday FaceTime was my wife's idea. She promised our daughter and got her excited about it. No, she didn't talk with our daughter until she was calling to cancel. That's another reason the birthday stunt rubbed me the wrong way. Responding to a deleted comment. Yeah, you don't get to disconnect from being a parent, especially to a minor, for extended holidays. You certainly don't ghost them on their birthday and when you promise to do something special for them and got the child excited about it or hang up on them while they're crying. I'm not insecure. My wife's gone on the retreats before. We both work outside the home and have the caring for our daughter. So it's not an imbalance. My wife's work-life balance is out of sorts. She's in the company of other adults plenty. I've been with my wife on these retreats and other social events. I know how she is. She was off this entire trip, nor was it appreciated her entertaining a coworker, who ignores boundaries, having his arm wrapped around her waist like he was claiming her or something. I trusted her when she said she had a bug bite. I got things to help her treat it for when returned. It was only after I saw the bruise in person that there was no mistaking it was a hickey for me, and I questioned her on it. Update. I, 27M, wanted to give an update and thank everyone who reached out. The outside perspectives helped. Things are a roller coaster. I'm trying to process. It took a while for my wife, 28F, and me to have any real conversation about the bruise on her neck. We were stuck between arguing and her showering our daughter, 4F, and me with affection. I rarely saw the bruise because she was turtlenecked up. But I did note the healing process from reddish purple to yellow. There wasn't any more discussion about the Vegas retreat. She made it clear she was done talking about it and that she shouldn't need to defend herself to her husband. I told her she could do whatever she wanted, but I was done being treated like an idiot, and I wasn't sharing a bed with someone I couldn't trust. So I moved into the guest room. Communication stopped. The silences were palpable. Even our daughter noticed. I'm not proud of that. I try keeping her out of fights. My wife came to the guest room one night and asked if we could talk. I could tell she'd been crying. She said she hated the way things were between us. She felt she was losing me either way. I told her I needed complete honesty. She confessed she hooked up with that coworker, 23M, on our daughter's birthday. The hickey was from him. She was lost in the heat of the moment and didn't realize he was sucking so hard on her neck. By her account, they made out while doing some on top of the clothes stuff and then he went down on her. It stopped there because he called her by a nickname that I affectionately call her. It snapped her back to the reality of her actions. She went to splash water on her face and saw the hickey. The guy made light of it and made a joke about the hickey being her souvenir. She blew up on him and kicked him out of her suite. Part of the reason she was avoiding me was out of guilt. She said she's coming clean because she doesn't want to hide things anymore. I asked her why she cheated. What was it about that guy she deemed worth risking everything? She claimed it wasn't him specifically, nor is she unhappy with our marriage. She doesn't really know how to explain it, but a part of her feels broken. The more she looks in the mirror, the more she sees her dad, 57M. A cycle of being consumed with work, distant from child, and the infidelity he put her mom, 55F, through. She said her family never talked about anything openly and how when she was growing up, my MIL never addressed anything with her. I said her parents didn't make her cheat. She chose to party up with a guy who constantly disrespected our relationship. These were all her decisions, and she at any point could have chosen our family. She agreed. She wants to blame her parents but realizes this is on her. She apologized for cheating and for entertaining the guy's advances. She said she'll do whatever it takes to repair. Go to HR, quit her job, counseling, anything. She wants to make everything right. I told her I don't know what right looks like or if that's possible for us anymore. I knew we had our problems, but I thought there wasn't anything we couldn't talk out. She insisted we still could talk it out. We didn't have to give up on us. She tried giving this rally cry for our relationship, but I felt very numb. I said I didn't recognize her. Not just the betrayal of our vows but also how she treated our daughter. She's like a stranger. She feels she failed as a wife and mom, but she loves us both beyond words and wants our life together and our family intact. I told her I couldn't give her the answer she wanted and thought we needed to separate and reevaluate. She didn't want separation. She felt we should stay together in our home, but I told her a separation was happening. Either she was leaving the home or I was with our daughter. She consented to leaving so as to best not uproot our daughter so much. She asked for our daughter not to be taken away from her. My wife's staying with my in-laws. I know that's difficult in itself because she doesn't have the best relationship with her parents. One of the hardest parts is the shift for our daughter. Right now, she believes her mom's just busy with work per usual. She hasn't questioned it too much. My MIL called the other day. She made no excuses for my wife, but she's advocating for us to work through it. She told me times when she heard my wife describe me as the anchor she always wanted. She believes there's something worth fighting for if I'm open. Despite some family opposition we faced throughout our relationship, my MIL was always a supporter of us. I'm even more at a loss. I never imagined this kind of betrayal from my wife. She was my safe place. I feel numb yet broken. I'm in love with her. That hasn't changed. But I don't see myself, her, our relationship, or our family the same. Everything's more tense because it's fresh. I think this period of separation is for the best. I'm not sure about divorce. I haven't let myself fully go there. I'm not set either way. I don't know where things go from here, but I'm focusing on our daughter and taking things one step at a time. I feel that's all I can do right now. Thanks again to everyone for the support. It's much appreciated. TLDR Update 4, my wife returned from a work retreat in Vegas with a hickey on her neck. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the retreat. We're stuck between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. I'm at a loss. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It was already established that there had been line crossing with the coworker prior to the trip, even if it wasn't physical yet. But even if there hadn't been, I've known coworkers' pet names for their significant others before when only interacting with them on a professional level. The fact that the guy both intentionally gave her a hickey and used the pet name says a whole hell of a lot about him, though. Someone willing to engage in an affair is bad enough. This guy was doing it as some kind of sick power play. Commenter 2. It's also possible it's something super common like honey or baby. Reply. No, it's a specific nickname. It's not derived from her name or anything. It just summed up things I loved about her in one word. Apparently he turned it into a sexual context. Commenter 3. One question, how close was the colleague to her to know her nickname that you use? And why did she let him this close to her literally and figuratively? Reply. At the time, I knew they had a friendship. She was asked to mentor him as he joined her department. So she took him under the wing and was supposed to be showing him the ropes. They would text and stuff and he would cross boundaries. His texts increasingly read like a guy fishing for an opportunity. My wife shut the idea down as not even a factor for her and I chose to trust my wife because I never had a reason to doubt her before. As far as the nickname, it was something only I called her but it wasn't like a secret thing. I called her by it in front of others and our daughter. She claims the guy overheard me say it when she had me on speaker once and he asked her about it after. Update. Thank you again to everyone. I, 27M, couldn't respond to every message, but everything's appreciated. I wanted to provide an update. Things have been a little chaotic with the new status quo after my wife's, 28F, affair, but I'm taking everything one step at a time. My wife and I explained the separation to our daughter, 4F, in simple, concrete terms and reassured her that we both still love her without going into the reasons behind the separation. Our daughter's always been an observant kid, but I don't think the separation has hit her yet. She doesn't see the difference between her mom not being home and her usual busy with work. During visits, she's more distant towards her mom and clings to me. My wife attempted to play with her on this toy set, but our daughter wasn't having it and shouted at her mom that she didn't want to play with her. The disconnect between my daughter and wife hurts in a way I'm still processing. I knew my wife's work-life balance took its toll. Pre-Vegas, we were supposed to be working on reconnecting, but just how fractured things are is a lot more apparent. Our daughter interacts very little with her mom and becomes quiet around her like she does with strangers. I feel at her age we, as her parents, should be who she's closest with and not this disconnected from her mom. Their dynamic is something I've been reflecting on. My main focus is making sure my daughter's okay through all of this. As far as between my wife and me, she's advocating for us to reconcile. She's expressed she wants to work on our marriage not solely for our daughter but because she loves me. Her rally cries for our relationship are still falling flat for me. I can't give her what she wants right now. I told her I wished she would have given herself these rallies before cheating. She's adamant about the affair timeline and what occurred with the coworker, 23M. They connected because she felt bad he wasn't fitting in. He kept flirting and treating her like royalty. It started feeling good on the rougher workdays. They had an emotional affair even though she didn't label it as such at the time. The EA turned physical during the retreat. She dissociated from her life back home while away in Vegas. She still swears they had sex only once. The hickey came from foreplay, and while giving her oral, he called her my nickname for her, which shook her out of it. She snapped at him about his immature attitude with the hickey and then kicked him out of her suite. She thought she could quietly end things and salvage our marriage. I asked her if she wore her wedding ring during sex with him. She confessed that she did. Knowing this hurts like hell. To me, our wedding rings were a physical symbol of our love, commitment to our vows, and our bond. She tarnished our rings. I haven't been able to wear mine. It never hurts any less. There are just new levels to the hurt. She admits to contributing to blurred lines. She's now changed her number and claims to have cut contact with the coworker. She reported the affair to HR. The company has suspended both of them while they investigate the extent to which the affair impacted the department. Coworker relations violate their policy, and it doesn't look good for my wife in terms of power balance since she was the guy's mentor. They're also calling into question if she gave him favoritism. Some have suggested I reach out to the coworker. I've considered it, but I'm not in a place to. I feel a lot of anger towards him. He knew exactly what he was doing with the hickey and nickname stunt. I wouldn't get anything from him except trouble. He's not worth it. I'm choosing to focus on my daughter. I've chosen to pursue marriage counseling. This isn't under the promise of reconciling but as an assist in working through this separation as healthy as possible for our daughter. I'm still numb in a lot of ways. I never thought this would be how my marriage and family turned out. I've seen it happen to others. I've heard stories. I thought I knew what it was like. But it's nothing compared to dealing with it yourself. I don't feel like the same person anymore. I don't know how everything will pan out. It's an uphill battle, but I'm trying to show up to the battle. It's the best I can do right now. Thank you to everyone who has reached out. I appreciate the support, really. TLDR Update 4, my wife returned from a work retreat in Vegas with a hickey on her neck. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the retreat. We're stuck between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. I'm at a loss. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? Update 3. Thank you again to everyone who's reached out. I, 27M, wanted to provide an update. Things aren't easy. I don't expect them to be. I don't regret the decision to separate. It was necessary. In many ways, I feel like my hand was forced with the betrayal and all the lies. I'm still finding my footing. I don't put people on pedestals, nor did I ever believe my wife's, 28F, and my relationship was perfect. I just didn't think we'd end up like this after all this time together. While HR were still conducting their investigation on my wife and the coworker, 23M, my wife resigned. Apparently she received pushback. Some of the top brass were pulling for her to stay on. I wasn't too surprised because she's always been a yes employee who gets the job done. She worked with the company back as an intern in college. She said she wants to prove that she's taking every possible action in cutting ties with the guy. I don't know what the investigation result was for him. I don't care, TBH. It's not a concern of mine. We've officially begun marriage counseling. It's a new experience overall. I didn't know what to expect. We're mostly discussing our relationship's journey up to now, the affair, and what we want from counseling. My wife's position on how the affair began remains consistent. She can't really explain it precisely. She wasn't unhappy with me, but a part of her feels broken. The undivided special attention became like a drug to her. The convo kind of shifted to my in-laws, 57M55F, my wife's family life, and the impact of my FIL's infidelity. She believes she's a reflection of her dad and how she is as both a parent and a spouse. As a parent, she tried convincing herself she was better than him by showering our daughter, for F, with gifts in light of her lacking presence. As a spouse, she tried convincing herself she was better because the affair wasn't physical pre-Vegas. She thought as long as they didn't do anything physical, then she was better than her dad. That was something she told her affair partner while in Vegas actually. They could hang out as long as it didn't turn physical. I feel like she had so many chances to choose differently. To choose us and our family, but she tossed our daughter and myself to the train tracks. Our relationship wasn't enough to stop her, our wedding rings weren't enough, and our crying daughter wasn't enough. She chose herself every time. She was selfish. She mentions the nickname thing, making her snap back to reality as if it's supposed to make me feel better. It doesn't. I believe she only stopped at oral because she got off and had no more need to go further. I wasn't on her mind. Telling me that I was is like trying to put a band-aid on a gunshot wound. I didn't plan to say half of everything I did, but there was no going back once the door was opened during my turn to talk. She agreed and said she has no excuse for her actions. It's not her parents, it's just her. She swore that she loves me and our daughter and wants to fight for our family. I told her that the "I love yous" felt hollow now. She shut out our daughter and myself to give an intimate part of herself to her coworker. She said she realizes how much larger than just the affair our problems are. She struggles connecting with our daughter and worries about messing her up, so she left the primary caretaking to me. She believes I'm better at it. She said that there's nothing she can say to change anything, but she wants to show change through her present actions. That's some stuff we've dug through in counseling. We're still in the early stages. But I believe it's aiding in communication through separation, which is more healthy for our daughter. Our therapist recommended individual counseling as a complement. It's something I'm seriously researching for myself. Not much has changed with our daughter since the previous update. She still doesn't feel there's a difference between her mom being home or not. I've watched her go from talkative and playful to instantly completely silent when her mom came by. I've scheduled her for play therapy. I don't know what to expect from that either, but I'm hoping for the best. My main goal is being present for her. I know I need to learn how to trust again in general. That's shot right now. Pre-Vegas, I never had a reason to doubt my wife. My trust was something she had as an irreplaceable partner. I've been betrayed before, but this one did a number in a way the others hadn't. I'm trying to stay afloat and focus on what I have rather than what I lost. I can't afford to get lost in myself. Thank you to everyone for the support and for sharing your own experiences. Talking about all this isn't easy for me, but I appreciate the openness. Update 4. I, 27M, wanted to provide an update on things. I don't have much new to say about therapy in itself. I'm staying the course with marriage counseling, and my wife, 28F, and I have both begun individual counseling. It's an interesting experience and has given me an outlet. I see's a nice compliment to MC, my wife's keeping her therapy appointments. She's journaling too. I'm surprised because journaling wasn't something she's ever really believed in. In MC, she said it's helping her reflect. Our daughter, 4F, has begun play therapy. We're still in the early stages. She's hesitant but coming around to it. Once she gets going, though, you can't get the toys out of her hands. It's reassuring seeing her in an environment where she's engaging and being more herself. It gives me hope that she'll be okay through everything. The play therapist has been discussing when to best involve my wife. Nothing's concrete yet. I also want to progress at a rate our daughter's comfortable with and not force anything. I'm really proud of her. She's a major reason why I can't regret being with my wife. There are a lot of things I'd tell my younger self, but if I'd chosen a different path, then I wouldn't have my daughter. It's something I wouldn't change. I had another major challenge recently. It was my wife's and my anniversary. Our anniversary always meant something to me. Even with her terrible work-life balance, we'd make an effort to make the occasion special. I felt a lot of conflicting emotions about our anniversary this year. Mostly pain. We had plans. Everything was booked and set pre-Vegas retreat. Needless to say, the trip was cancelled. My wife wanted to keep our plans intact. I told her that wasn't happening. Without the trip, she said she still wanted us to spend our official anniversary together instead of separately. I turned her down. We discussed it in therapy. I expressed I didn't have the needed trust in her to let myself be vulnerable with her as I once was. I needed to process the anniversary on my own. The anniversary had me having all these strange thoughts. A lot of it highlighted how much I miss my friend and partner. I'm not talking about reconciliation. I'm not entertaining that right now. I'm talking about something deeper. To share a life with someone and everything that entails, them being your partner and closest friend, and then having what you devoted yourself to yanked away. I can't be with her in all the ways I wanted. Call it simping. Call it foolish. Call it a doormat. Call it whatever you want. I just call it the facts of falling in love and giving them your all for a long time, then finding out they had another life, and losing what you held close. It hurts, and I hadn't let myself actually feel it until then. I feel like everything moves on. Life moves on. My wife's affair partner, 23M, moves on. Work moves on. And here I am. I'm the one who's living the loss. I'm the one who's paying. I also wanted to address an FAQ. I've been asked a lot about what I meant in my first post about the cultural differences and family opposition my wife and I faced. We're an interracial couple. My wife's Korean. We're both minorities, but my FIL, 57M, and his side of the family wanted my wife to settle down with someone who's Korean. They're conservative in their beliefs, so I wasn't exactly welcomed, and we dealt with opposition from that angle. It was rough. Even at our wedding, my FIL was more a silent attendee. Because of my wife and FIL's strained relationship, she was firm that she didn't care about his approval. She rejected him walking her down the aisle, which, of course, didn't help their relationship. My wife made her own choice. I had nothing to do with it, but anger was thrown at me. My FIL took it as I influenced her against him, and his side of the family said my wife wasn't being a good daughter. Things with my FIL didn't really mend until our daughter. He mellowed after becoming a grandpa and became receptive toward me. Despite our past, he's doting as a grandparent. My MIL's, 55F, a different story. She's always been welcoming and supportive of our relationship. Her support made a difference. She's been like a mother to me. I'm realizing more and more the rippling effects of an affair. How much it just takes and consumes. The different facets to the loss. I lost not only the life I chose but also family and friends. Just keep losing. That's pretty much all there is to update about. Thank you to everyone for the support. Even if I couldn't respond, just know everything is much appreciated. It means a great deal. TLDR Update 4, my wife returned from a work retreat in Vegas with a hickey on her neck. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the retreat. We're stuck between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. I'm at a loss. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? New update. Sorry for the lack of response. There are a lot of replies and questions I've, 27M, missed due to things being chaotic. I wanted to address what I couldn't reply to and give an update. Play therapy's a learning curve. My daughter, 4F, is still hesitant, but she's getting more used to the therapist. I think the current pace we've set works. I'm letting her be in the moment and allowing that to guide what she's ready for. I don't want to force anything. My wife, 28F, is now being included in PT. The focus so far is letting her and our daughter engage together in playful activities guided by the therapist and addressing behavioral and emotional challenges and improving communication. Something we're tackling is feeling charade. I've never done it before. Our daughter usually communicates with me on her own, but she struggles with wording certain emotions. It's completely understandable, she's only 4. My hope is these exercises will only benefit her. My wife's inclusion hasn't been progressive, TBH. We're still in the early stages. Our daughter really clams up around her. She's okay with my wife being in the room, but she's not very receptive otherwise. Recently for play therapy, my daughter made a drawing of our family. It was mostly stick figures, but she had her own little style to it and indicators of who was who. It was adorable but also bittersweet. The drawing included herself, me, and her grandparents, but not her mom. My wife was nowhere to be found. When asked where her mom was, my daughter's exact words were "Umma's never around," and "Umma's mean." Mean is typically how our daughter communicates that someone's hurt her or someone else. She called her mom mean when my wife broke her FaceTime birthday promise during the Vegas retreat. She said it before my wife hung up. There was another time around the holidays she called my wife mean. My daughter was assisting me with baking, and she got really excited and cheering. My wife was supposed to join us, but she didn't and took a work call. She raised her voice at our daughter as she told her to quiet down. I didn't like the tone my wife took with our daughter. She was just excited and wanted to help, and it was supposed to be family time. My wife was the one who took a work call in the same room without warning anyone. We argued later, but it was resolved, and she apologized to our daughter. Being left out of the drawing bothered my wife. She's expressed that she overthinks and doesn't believe she's good at connecting with our daughter. She feels our daughter prefers me over her. The whole incident struck another chord with me. I've been mulling it over. We've discussed it in MC and, for me, in IC. It hurts to see how fractured things are between my daughter and my wife. Despite my wife's infidelity, I don't take pleasure in a suffering relationship. I'm not rooting against her. I want their relationship to be okay. I believe my daughter needs her mom too. Am I wrong in thinking that there are things a daughter will want to talk with her mom about or to share specifically with her mom even if the other parent is involved? Part of me feels responsible for their lack of relationship. Like I should have stepped in sooner. I never realized how bad things were. Before, I held on to the promise of just one more work project, and then my wife would be involved more, and how we were still a family. The affair changed my outlook. When exactly things went off course. Having kids was something we both wanted. It wasn't a singular convo but one we revisited over the years. We actually wanted more kids. Pre-affair we had discussions, but I had put that potential on hold because it was clear we needed to reconnect as the family unit already present. I saw and felt the love and care my wife had for our daughter during the pregnancy. It was palpable. I always thought our daughter was evidence of the bond we shared. My wife's maternity leave ended shortly after she gave birth, and she resumed work full-time at the office. I would say there was a noticeable change then, and the disconnect grew from there. I just feel like somewhere along the line I let my daughter down and perhaps was also blinded by my love for my wife. I'm at a complete loss. I feel their relationship falls on me. The play therapist said we can only take it one step at a time. I've been frequently asked about our daughter picking up on the rift between my wife and me and whether we've fought in front of her. I wanted to address that here. My wife and I have had our fights, but I can't say we've fought in front of our daughter. We'd usually pause and revisit if our daughter was around and not let it reflect in front of her. After the affair, I haven't badmouthed my wife to our daughter. I try explaining the separation and addressing any question in simple ways without throwing stuff on her or my personal feelings. I'm really trying. I want the best for my daughter. I don't want my wife's affair to take any more from our daughter than it already has. It hurts like hell, but I can deal. But my daughter is only a kid. How my MIL, 55F, did it, and I don't believe it's something I can ask her. I wanted to thank everyone again for the support. It means a lot. Hearing your experiences means something. I think there's hope to be found in it. I appreciate everything. TLDR Update 4, my wife returned from a work retreat in Vegas with a hickey on her neck. She swears it's a bug bite, but I'm not convinced. I only feel more strongly when I consider how distant and weird she was during the retreat. We're stuck between arguing and her dousing our daughter and me with affection. I'm at a loss. I really need outside perspectives. How do I move forward? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Is your wife trying to build a relationship with your daughter? This is just so sad. Reply. They have spent more time together than previously, but sometimes I observed was awkward silence or our daughter mostly playing with my in-laws. Commenter 2. Has your wife moved back in or are you still separated? Is it possible that the relationship between your wife and your daughter might improve if you were all living in the same house? That is, of course, if you are contemplating reconciliation. Reply. We're still separated. I honestly don't know if there would be any improvement. There wasn't much when we all were under the same roof. My daughter does have allotted time with her mom throughout the week. Stories number 20. Aita for refusing to cook a vegetarian Thanksgiving dinner. I feel like I've slipped into the twilight zone with this whole argument, so tell me what's up, internet folks. Background, I, 31F, and my brother Mark, 35M, do not get along. When he was a teen he saw a documentary on factory farming and decided to become a vegetarian. He got very, very annoying about it quickly, but my dad shut him down when he started trying to get the rest of us to be vegetarian with him. Then he went to college, made a bunch of very strange friends, and went militantly vegan. It's his entire personality. I stopped talking to him after he threw a fit about one of my birthday dinners being at a steakhouse and spammed my messages and SM with pictures of abused cows. My parents have been trying to repair the situation, and for a while, it did seem like Mark was getting better, so I've been letting him back into contact gradually. Then he started dating Pam, who is some kind of vegan influencer. She is apparently moderately popular online, but I have no idea what she does exactly. I don't know if Mark was trying to impress her or what, but last Thanksgiving he insisted that Mom cook at least a vegetarian meal or they wouldn't come on ethical grounds. My mom just wanted everyone to get along on her favorite holiday, so she agreed. It was not a fun meal. This year, my parents have downsized for retirement and my mom is having health problems. I bought their house when they moved, so my mom asked me to host Thanksgiving so it would be like usual. I told everyone in the group chat so Mark and Pam could make travel arrangements, and Pam immediately started gushing about all the vegan replacement recipes she could give me to replace the traditional ones. I said to send me a main dish recipe they like and I would give it a shot, but I'm making the traditional meal otherwise and there should still be plenty of things they can eat. Mark and Pam have been arguing about this with me for days, and then Mark said that if I wouldn't make a meat-free meal they wouldn't come. This upset my mom, who asked me to just make what she made last year to keep the peace, but I told her that Mark needs to get over himself and I'm not coddling him. I'm having turkey on Thanksgiving. My dad privately agrees with me, but Mark threatening to not come is upsetting my mom so much that he's worried it will impact her health. There's a not big, but also not zero chance that these might be some of the last family holidays we have with her. My mom thinks I'm putting turkey over my own family and I'm not so sure anymore. Aita Reddit. Whoa, this blew up. So the answers to some common questions. As I said, I've already offered to make sure there is a main dish and sides they can eat. Mark and Pam will not show up if anyone else eats meat at this meal. If any meat is served to anyone, they won't come. Doing multiple meals that day or across multiple days is a no-go. I'm a newly minted critical care physician at an understaffed hospital during a major holiday week and I will have a limited window of time between shifts. I have time for one gathering and I would rather not waste it on a miserable one like last year. Mark and Pam can't host because they live in a van at present. I'm also not willing to have them in my kitchen for hours bitching about the meat in my fridge, the cookware and utensils, and whatever else they can find to complain about. The time it would take for them to come eat, socialize for a couple of hours, and leave is the maximum amount I'm willing to let them be in my home. Although it would admittedly be interesting to watch them try to host a family Thanksgiving out of a van, it is very unlikely that my mom is going to die anytime soon. It's just a non-zero chance. She's understandably worried about it, and is in the pessimism stage of grieving her health. She has a good prognosis and most people with her condition pull through and live for a long time afterward. If it is by some chance the last Thanksgiving, I don't think a repeat of last year's Thanksgiving would do her any good either, as everyone left that table unsatisfied and unhappy. Edit. So, a possible situation to this that I came up with while talking to my partner is to just work through Thanksgiving instead. The attending on shift that day would probably be happy to stay home, so swapping wouldn't be hard. Mom would be sad about canceling, but she knows my job is demanding and saves lives, so she won't be upset. Mark and Pam can kick rocks. To be honest, eating hospital turkey between emergencies sounds better than a family Thanksgiving right now. I'll have to turn it over some more. Edit 2, problem mostly solved. Dad finally hit critical mass and told Mark that if he didn't get his ass here on Thanksgiving to support Mom unconditionally and without a single complaint or argument the entire time, he was disowning and disinheriting him, and the next time he needed money or help he could forget it. So Mark is theoretically coming. Pam is not. Dad has already ordered the turkey. The recipes Pam sent are ridiculously complicated, so I worked out a deal with one of the nurses at work who is vegan, and she's going to make a couple of her favorite dishes ahead that I can bake day of for Mark. We'll see if he actually manages to show up. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. My aunt was vegan, she brought her own meals to family gatherings. Why can't they do the same? Reply. They object to participating in anything that involves meat. Won't even go to non-vegetarian restaurants. They're really extreme about it. OOP when called out on calling their brother weird. I'm calling his college friends weird because they were legit weird. One ended up joining a cult. One believed in drinking urine as medicine. One had moldy white people dreads. One of them tried to recruit me to his polygamous harem when I was 18. I'm contemptuous of my brother because he roundly deserves contempt. He's a self-righteous, entitled freeloader that spends his life being angry at everyone for ridiculous reasons, has barely ever had a job or contributed anything to society, and blames everyone else for anything bad that happens to him due to his own stupid life choices. Update. Brother, not beather. People have been asking, and I'm finally out from under the balls to the wall madness at work for a little bit, so buckle up, folks. I have a story. So, to recap, my mom is sick and wanted a nice family Thanksgiving at my house, since it used to be the family house and their new place is small. My vegan brother and his girlfriend refused to come unless the entire meal was vegetarian, i.e. no meat allowed for anyone. I am not okay with being blackmailed over food in my own home. It was upsetting my mom enough that before Thanksgiving, my dad called my brother and told him that if he did not show up to Thanksgiving, support my mom, and be pleasant to everyone without a single comment about food, he was disowned. My brother agreed to come. His girlfriend opted out at the time. My dad and I planned the meal. I made sure there were plenty of vegetable dishes available and made a deal with a vegan nurse at work to make me a couple of vegan casseroles that I could bake for my brother. My mom was happy and it was looking like everything was solved. My brother arrived the night before Thanksgiving with the girlfriend after all in their van, which they live in. This was unplanned, but at least they showed up. They intended to camp in my yard. I told them absolutely not. They asked if they could stay in my guest room, then. I said that I had not planned for them to stay there and given their previous behavior I thought it best if they went and got a hotel room, plus they have a large breed dog with them, I don't have a fenced yard, and I don't want the dog to be in the house. They can't afford a hotel room. He calls mom. The community my parents live in does not allow overnight guests under 50, so they can't sleep there. To end the debate, I pay for a hotel room and allow the dog to hang out in the garage for the night because the hotel doesn't accept pets that large that aren't service animals. Thanksgiving Day, my parents come over, other family members and my partner come early to hang out, and everything is going fine. Brother and girlfriend roll up about 11. They both smell strongly of weed, which is not legal here, which makes things awkward from the start. Girlfriend comes into the kitchen to help even though everything is almost done, and starts taking pics with her phone without permission and telling my very southern great aunt who has been cooking since God was a child how to make cornbread dressing the right, vegan, way. Several, bless your heart, later, girlfriend is firmly escorted to the living room instead since she's a guest. Meanwhile, my brother has cornered my partner, who is also in the medical field and has the patience of a saint, about his vaccine conspiracies and my dad is just letting it happen because at least he's not talking about food. Finally we're ready to eat and everyone is making a plate. Girlfriend asks a million questions about ingredients and then just gets small portions of 2 side dishes, not even the actual vegan dishes made by my vegan friend. My brother eats all the vegetable dishes but comments about how girlfriend makes them better. I notice girlfriend gets up to go to the bathroom a lot, and at one point she's gone for a while so I go check on her to make sure she's okay. Y'all, this woman was filming a TikTok video for her channel in my bedroom. I was speechless. She apologized and said that she thought it was the guest room and she needed a minute away from the smell of meat. I told her to stop and go downstairs and that since it's illegal here to record video on private property without the owner's permission, if she posted anything she recorded in my house I would press charges. After we were done eating, my brother pulled me off to the side and told me that I was a bitch for threatening his girlfriend. My partner happened to be close enough to hear and apparently told my dad. Dad asked my brother to help with something outside for a minute. I don't know what was said, but my brother came back in looking pissed, reminded girlfriend that they needed to head back to beat traffic, said goodbye to mom, and they left in a hurry. So much of a hurry that they forgot the poor dog who was still out in the garage and by the time my brother answered a call he was so worked up he cussed me out and told me to just keep the dog since I had to have everything my way and his girlfriend was yelling in the background when he hung up. My mom either completely missed what was going on or is pretending she doesn't know so we don't have to talk about it, but she said she had a good Thanksgiving and it was nice to have everyone together. My dad hasn't said anything about what he told my brother, but he wants to take mom to the beach for Christmas and asked if my partner and I wanted to go without saying anything about my brother and his girlfriend. My cousin checked up on girlfriend's channel and says that she's posted videos but they're from the hotel the night before and the van afterwards so at least she has the sense to be warned. I've sent messages and so have my dad and partner offering to try to get the dog back to them but so far neither of them are talking. I don't want to take the poor thing to the shelter. It's not his fault and he's not a bad dog, just big and excitable. Dar, brother and his girlfriend showed up expecting to stay with me, were rude while they were here, left in a hurry, and abandoned their dog with me, but mom got her family Thanksgiving. Happy holidays. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Is there a way that you can keep the dog or find him a good home? I will tell brother dear that he and his girlfriend is no longer welcome at my house. Reply. My partner has pack bonded to the dog at this point and the plan was to move here in January anyway, so we have a dog now. He seems to be enjoying his escape from van life so far. Stories number 21. Aita for winning my mom's storage unit at auction instead of giving her the money to save it herself. 24F, was in and out of the foster care system. My mom would lose custody of me and my 3 siblings, only to do the bare minimum to get us back, just for the cycle to repeat. I eventually aged out of foster care, went to college, and moved to another state. I still check in with my mom every week. She was diagnosed with heart failure, which came on from other terrible decisions. I offer support when she reaches out, whether it's with money, food, etc. Most of the time I don't hear back. And when I do, it's usually because she wants something. She has a long history of lying to and stealing from all of us. She's currently homeless. We have offered her a place to stay if she gets clean and she won't. After we turned 18, we reconnected with our extended family, grandparents, and cousins, and those relationships have become important to us. A couple of months ago, she called me in a panic at 2 o'clock in the morning. She said her storage units were about to be auctioned off, that she wasn't even behind on payments, and that the owners were trying to scam her. She needed $1,000 immediately because there were only 15 hours left before the auction. I told her LD check in the morning once I got to work and see what I could do. The next day, I did some digging and looked at the contents of the storage units. What was listed broke my heart: family photos, vases from great-grandparents, personal documents, birth certificates, social security cards, my mom's clothing and tools, and everything from my grandmother's house. She passed away just last year. I decided to bid on the unit myself and ended up spending nearly $1,200 for it. Afterward, I spoke to the owners, who told me they'd been trying to help my mom for months, discounts, payment extensions, etc. But eventually, she just stopped answering them. They said they had no other option but to auction it. I was devastated. My sibling said that if I hadn't stepped in, all of those memories and important documents would have ended up in a stranger's hands. My siblings were relieved and grateful, but my mom? She accused me of violating her trust, told me emotionally robbed her, that I stole from her, and said I was a mistake. She even claimed our grandparents would be ashamed of me. I ended up taking a few days off work, drove out of state to the unit, and went through everything. I only kept what belonged to me and my siblings' photos, documents, anything tied to our family history. I didn't throw away a single item of hers. Instead, I rented a new storage unit just down the road, moved all her belongings there, and paid 3 months in advance. I gave her all the info. Now I'm stuck with this heavy feeling. I can't shake the guilt, like Elle crossed a line or sank to her level somehow. But at the same time, I couldn't bear to see everything important to us vanish, especially knowing it would probably happen again in 6 months. Aita for buying the storage unit out from under her. Stories number 22. 16 years old and my mom arranged a marriage for me. TWs, child endangerment, forced marriage, emotional abuse, family estrangement, misogyny, mental abuse. I was studying for my math test and listening to music while I study. My mom was on the phone talking to a relative in Pakistan about a wedding and I took my earbuds out, and I started eavesdropping. I wanted to know what was going on and my mom said, I don't know what wilted wallflower should wear to her wedding. What the fuck? After she ended the call she told me and my stepsister that we were going to Pakistan to visit relatives. I faked interest and pretended to be excited, so she wouldn't get suspicious, but I am fucking shocked and I didn't know what to do. I went on travel. GC and I also googled a list of Canadian French consulates and embassies in Pakistan. I'm afraid my mom or my relatives will take away my passport and never let me return to Canada. Then I'll be trapped in that shithole country with some stranger who will probably abuse me daily. My mom has talked about marrying me off to a guy because my grades are bad and because I don't behave. I haven't been to Pakistan since I was 6 and I would never, ever go back. I am ex-Muslim and I hate all of my mom's relatives in Pakistan. I remember when I failed a chemistry test and my mom said, your cousin got grades like yours and that's why she was married off. Another time before I wrote my final exams, she said, I'll find you a doctor husband because girls don't work. I am so scared and I don't know what to do. I don't want to leave Canada. I know that we have to go to Paris, France first and I am going to make a run for it when we land. I have dual citizenship with France and my biological father lives in Paris. I haven't even called my dad and told him what was going on because I'm going to break down in tears and my snitchy stepsister will tell my mom and stepdad on me. On TV and YouTube I have seen so many documentaries about Desi girls and forced marriages. I never knew that I was going to be one of those girls. Should I call the police before I leave? Or should I ask to go to the bathroom and run away? Update. Thank you so much for the advice. I am going to make another post about my plan and escape to France. Smiley face. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. Where in Canada are you located? Edit. If you are anywhere in Ontario, or willing to travel, I can give you a safe place to stay. I even drive. I'm not sure when your departure date is but do not go. Pack as if you're happy you're traveling and run away. When you're far away from your mother and sister, then you call your father. See what he says. If there is any indication he is on your mom's side, do not go. If he is willing to take you in, you should go see him alone. Do not tell your mom of your travel plans. Reply, I am not in Ontario. I have called my father, my mom and stepsister don't speak French, so they didn't understand. My dad is a white French man and he is not on my mom's side. Update 1. First of all, I can't thank you all enough for this advice and support. I'd send you all muffin baskets if I could. It's the day after I found out about this forced marriage. It wasn't arranged because I haven't given my consent and there's no way in hell I want to marry some old fuck at 16. A lot has happened in the past 24 hours. I have called my dad, boyfriend, family members and trusted friends. My best friend has given me a pocket GPS, and she said she will track my location and notify the police if I end up in Pakistan, but I have notified authorities. My dad was furious when I told him that my mom arranged a marriage for me. My boyfriend's parents said they would help me if my mom drains my bank account, or if I was taken to Pakistan, they would go there and take me out of Pakistan. I have printed off copies of my IDs and recent pictures. I have given them to my friends and family. I also told my principal. I started taking cash out of my bank account so my mom can't drain it. But I don't want it to look suspicious, so I'm going to take it out in medium amounts and then hide the money in my safe. My dad said he would help me open a bank account in France, but I'm sure you have to be over 18. I hid my French passport and other IDs in my safe. Another thing I've done is that I am packing my belongings like my clothes, albums, school transcripts, electronics, books etc. in boxes and shipping them to my dad's address. I don't know what I'll do with the cash. I have under $10,000 so I won't face a fine when at customs, but I'll have to declare it. My mom has also told me she doesn't care where I go or what happens to me. I have hid at my friend's house for a week once after she slapped me for getting a 12-15 on a math test when I was in grade 7 and she didn't call once or anything. I am lucky that my friends let me stay with them. When my mom comes home, I'm going to tell her that I want to live with my dad. I don't know what her reaction will be, but I doubt she'll care. She cares more about my stepdad and his kid from a previous marriage. If my mom and stepdad agree, I can have freedom. No more Islam or abuse at home. If they agree, I'm going to call my dad and tell him to buy the plane ticket so I can leave Canada and live in France. I won't have a problem with immigration or anything because I have a French passport and I have mentioned that in the previous post. I know my dad can convince my dad to give up her parental rights and let him have sole custody. I'm sure my mom will lose her parental rights to me because of emotional, physical and mental abuse and this forced marriage is going to bring her down lol. I also have screenshots of my mom's text messages about this marriage. I even have a voice recording as evidence. I am going to confront my mom and stepdad and tell them that I'm going to live with my biological dad tonight. I'll update you all on what happens after. Edit, hey guys, about my dad. I actually grew up with a father for 13 years when I lived in France. I know my dad and I still see him 3 to 4 times a year even though my mom remarried and we moved to Canada. Update 2, the talk my mom and stepdad came home, I was going to do this confrontation alone and not have anyone there. As my parents sat down and asked me why I wanted to talk to them, I got nervous and started to panic. I was going to change the subject and say something like, can I paint my walls purple, but then it hit me, I had to toughen up and tell them that I wanted to live with my dad and not with them. If I didn't tell them, I would have been married off and had my life ruined. I was too scared to even call my neighbor or my friend's mom for security. I made my mom and stepdad sit down at the dinner table. I told them that I wanted to move to France and live with my dad. They started telling me that France was unsafe, that I was going to get shot. Then I told my mom that she always wanted me to die, lol. My stepdad said that Paris is dangerous and I told him about East Vancouver, Surrey, Detroit, Compton, North Edmonton etc. There was a lot of yelling but I told them that if they hated me so much, they should just give up their parental rights and let my biological father deal with me. There was a moment of silence. My stepdad decided to leave because he thought I was being crazy. My mom called me a disgrace to the family and I said in a very bitchy tone, why don't you fucking return me to dad? Unlike you, he actually cares about me, you fucking deplorable. My mom sighed and calmly replied, if that's what you want, I'll go make the arrangements. But you are making a huge mistake, and you'll regret it for the rest of your life. The confrontation wasn't as violent as I thought it would be. I had a pocket knife for self-defense because my parents have hit me before. It only lasted about 15 minutes. I'm a bit sad because I thought my mom would try to negotiate with me, or ask me what she did that makes me want to live with my dad who lives in another fucking country. It's not like my dad lives in a house across the street, or in the same city. he lives in another country and the fact that I have to move to another country for my safety, sanity, freedom and well-being sounds fucking crazy. Instead she decided to terminate her parental rights and give me back to my dad. She just threw me away, she never tried to fix our relationship. Most moms would fight, beg and plead with their last, dying breath for their kids to stay. When I think about it, I am better off living with my dad, he actually cares and worries about my well-being. I don't even think I should be sad, I mean I got what I wanted. I also realize that I'm so fortunate to have all these friends and family members who actually care and I have these nice strangers online who also gave me good advice. Smiley face. I am better off than most girls in my situation, I mean I can run off to France and be safe there because I have a caring dad unlike most girls in my situation. The only thing left in my room is my furniture, I packed my remaining belongings into a suitcase and I went to my friend's house. I have already cleared my closet and drawers, I put everything into a box and shipped it to my dad's address. I don't have many heavy objects and there's a trick on folding clothes to save space. I can share the link, if you want. Timeline of events. 5 to 5:15 p.m. My parents came home, I confronted them. 5:20 to 5:40 p.m. I ran faster than Usain Bolt to my room, opened my safe and shoved my money, debit cards, passport, IDs, and my emergency clothes and toiletries into a carry-on suitcase. I texted my friend and asked her if I could stay with her and she said yes. 5:50 p.m. My friend comes to pick me up and we drive to her house, luckily she lives far, far away from me. When I got to her house, her mom bought us 2 plane tickets to Vancouver. My friend is 18 and she could go as my guardian because I'm 16. The flight is 1 hour 35 minutes, the next flight to Paris and I'll be there at 8:35 a.m. 6:45 p.m. I called my mom and told her me and my friend were going to Halifax. I didn't want her to chase me to Vancouver. Then she said, have fun with that, I'll be on the plane, but I'll keep journaling and I'll make more updates. Thank you all so much. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. I'm really glad you've managed to get yourself out of what could have been a potentially disastrous situation. Your mother doesn't sound like she deserves to have a level-headed daughter like you at all. And it is quite sad to see how she doesn't seem to care about the reasons why you're leaving either. I have one question though, are you absolutely sure your mom was actually arranging your marriage? In the first update she just said she didn't know what you should wear to her wedding. Are you sure she didn't just mean some other relative's wedding? Reply. I read my mom's text messages. She told my aunt she arranged a marriage for me, yuck. Update 2. Me and my friend went from where we live Vancouver. Our next flight is from Vancouver Paris. My friend and I jumped on the next flight to Vancouver. Right now me and my friend are just waiting for our flight to Paris. My dad will pick me up at CDG airport and my friend will stay in Paris with me for emotional support. I felt bad because my friend had to come with me and abandon her normal routine, but she told me it was okay because she wanted to travel. She told me that she saved up money to travel but she didn't buy a ticket, so I guess I helped her jumpstart her goal to travel around Europe. Our flight to Vancouver was 1 hour and 35-ish minutes, I don't live far from BC lol. Our flight for Paris leaves the next day, so we decided to check into a hotel for the night. I was scared when the plane took off. I'm not afraid of flying, I was afraid that my mom was going to call the police or try to track my location and that this would become a missing persons case. My friend reassured me that my mom was a shitty parent and that I was so close to freedom. A couple minutes after the plane took off and I started thinking about my new life in France, I stopped thinking about my awful family and started thinking about how in 1 to 2 days I would see my dad and I'd be free at last. I'll be sitting in a French cafe reading a book, or strolling down the Champs-Élysées. I was going back to the City of Lights after 3 years of darkness. The only problem I had was my French spelling and learning how to make friends in France. Another minor issue would be getting used to a new time zone and jet lag. I'm also going to miss my friends in Canada, they helped me a lot. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be waiting for a flight to Paris. I'm also thankful for all the advice I got on Reddit. I finally got the courage to call my dad and read every post, smiley face. When I was 14, I wondered what would happen if I went to France and never returned. I was too scared to stay or even tell my mom and stepdad that I wanted to leave and go live with my dad. I never knew that 2 years later I would be moving back to France. I thought that I would have to wait until my 18th birthday to leave. I even got a part-time job to save up for a plane ticket and to move out when I turned 18. After my mom told me that she would make arrangements last night, I saw it as my last chance to escape, before something bad happened. I don't know what they're capable of, I could have been killed, kidnapped etc. Who knows. By the way, smiley face. I speak fluent French, I need to work on my spelling because it's awful lol. My mom is terminating her parental rights, my dad will get sole custody of me and my mom won't have access to me. I'm not sure how this parental right termination will work, but I know my mom is giving my dad sole custody. I took all of my IDs and documents from my mom's house. As soon as I heard her talking about my marriage, I rummaged her room and I found a large file folder with my documents in them. To make it less suspicious, I shoved paper in the folder. My mom has a bunch of envelopes full of childhood pictures. I took them all out and placed sticky notes and cards into the envelopes. It may be illegal, but it's petty compared to forcing a 16-year-old into marrying a 40-year-old. I can still complete high school this year and get my diploma. My bank account has been cleared, there's only $45.79 in there now. I have read my mom's text messages. She was talking to my aunt about how she arranged a marriage for me. I took a picture of those messages with my phone, printed them off as evidence and sent them to my dad. Also, if you're ex-Muslim and your family is like mine, tell someone. Tell your doctor, teachers, construction worker, employer, mailman, friends, neighbors, etc. I'm not being biased, but it's best to not tell anyone who is close to your parents. I never told anyone who was Desi and Muslim because my mom has bitch friends with snitchy kids who are Desi and Muslim. It's better to tell people who are non-Muslim. I told my friend in French class last year about what goes on at home. He said he was so sorry and said that he was there for me. People actually care. Please tell someone. Overall, thank you all so much for the support and the nice comments, smiley face. I'll get back to making another update in a couple weeks. I'm going to be in France in 9 hours-ish after I board the plane, then I can start my new life. Au revoir. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. Sounds like good news. Nobody is trying to stalk and kill you, and you're free of forced marriage problems. If you had not been eavesdropping on your mother, how likely do you think it is that you could have actually ended up in Pakistan in a forced marriage? It sounds like you may have gotten kind of lucky that you learned of her plans before you got duped into getting on a plane. I guess the moral of the story is, anyone who thinks they have a parent or parents who might try to dupe them into a trip to some place for a forced marriage probably need to be nosy about what they're up to. Reply. I am very lucky that I have caring friends and a dad who knows my mom is crazy. Before I travel, I let my friends know where I am and when I'll be back. If I don't show up for a while, my friends will know something's not right and they would call authorities. Also, I'm quite sneaky. I never trusted anyone in Pakistan and I would have hid my passport, cell phone and numbers to the French-Canadian embassy. Update 3. So. It's been a while since I've made an update here. I am now in France, away from my psychotic, narcissistic mom and step-dad. The friend who came with me has gone to Greece. I've been getting used to France again permanently. Before I used to visit my dad for a week or two and I'd just be a tourist, but now I actually live here again and luckily I don't have Paris syndrome. I can also still finish high school here, get my diploma and go to university, but I want to take a gap year and I'm not sure if I want to stay in France for university. Also, my mom's parenting rights have been terminated, and she doesn't have custody of me anymore. Phew. I'm glad I'll never have to see my shitty mom and stepdad ever again. I'm glad my dad isn't Muslim. He saved me from being trapped in an Islamic shithole country and being raped, abused by some 40-year-old that my mom wanted to marry me off to. When the plane landed in Paris, I finally felt free and safe. I wasn't in another country away from my mom and shitty stepdad. It's funny how some of my classmates think that I'm on vacation because my friend posted a picture of her and I when we went to the Eiffel Tower. Only 2 of my friends know what really happened, but I know they wouldn't tell anyone what happened. My first month here has been very weird. My friend wanted to go sightseeing and I don't blame her. It was fun showing my friend around Paris, but I knew that I wasn't a tourist anymore and that I now live in France, permanently. Overall, I've made friends and I was still in contact with some of my childhood friends. So yeah, I didn't have that much culture shock or trouble adjusting. I've been studying French, but my dad said that my French is fine. My dad is mad at my mom for arranging a marriage. My dad told me I was a human being and not commodity to be sold to the highest bidder, and then he said my mom was a deplorable and a disgusting woman for whoring me out and planning to leave me in a country where I have no contacts and I don't speak the language. I am much happier now because I'm the only child and I don't have an annoying sister snitching on me to my parents, or going through my bedroom. Overall, my life is better now because my mom is out of it and I want it to stay that way. My dad got my mom's parenting rights terminated and I think it's amazing because now my mom can't hurt me anymore. I'm not sure what I will study in university, but I also want to do something to help other girls in my situation. I think I want to write a book one day about what happened to me, but I'd have to use a pen name. But I feel so relieved that I don't live with my mom anymore. I have less acne and I lost weight because I don't have to hide my double life from her anymore. My dad and I went through my childhood pictures and we cut my mom out of those pictures. Some karma and legal justice. My dad doesn't have to send child support to my mom anymore, and now my mom and step-dad can't spend $1 a month on useless stuff anymore. Now they are fucked. I am just really happy that I have a white, non-Muslim dad who doesn't care if I hang out with my friends or if I fail one small meaningless test. I can actually be a teenager now, also I don't have to go back to Pakistan ever again, which is great. But I'm glad I found this subreddit, you guys helped me a lot. Thank you so much. Relevant comment. Commenter 1. I followed your story on this subreddit. I'm super glad that things have worked out for you. Please keep safe though, you are still very young and shit happens even in civilized places like France. Also you should pay some attention to your studies, not for your parents but for yourself. Not to please anyone but to satisfy your curiosity about the world. Learning is fun if you do it for the right reasons. I encourage you to start writing down your thoughts and your memories. Who knows, if you are a good writer someday you might create something like the Anne Frank diary, but without the tragic ending. I will definitely buy a copy if you do. Reply. True, I like learning but sometimes I fail in math or chemistry, lol. I have been writing daily ever since I was 15. If I do write a book, I'll send it to you for free. Stories number 23. I gave my boyfriend a deadline for a proposal. I'm scared it might end everything. I, 28F, have been with my boyfriend, 28M, for almost 5 years. I love him deeply. But I'm exhausted. A couple of years ago, when I wasn't even thinking about marriage yet, he would bring it up after a few drinks. He'd say things like, we should get married soon, and that he loved me so much. I started thinking about it seriously because of him. When I asked about it later, he said he was planning something special. But then life hit us hard, we moved for work, ended up miserable and isolated, and fought constantly. I asked him again about our future, and he said, I don't know. That crushed me. We quit those jobs, came back home, and things got so much better. One night, I got a bit tipsy and opened up about everything I'd been holding in. I told him I almost broke up with him during that bad period. He looked so hurt. He said he didn't know what he wanted then, but he does now, and he wants me. But more months passed. I brought it up again. We argued. He said he's been planning a proposal for over 2 years, and that I'm putting pressure on him. But I'm just tired of waiting. Tired of trying to explain to people why we're not engaged. Tired of going to weddings of my younger friends, many of whom dated their partners for way less time. Tired of feeling left behind. During the last fight, I said I need to know when it's going to happen. I set a deadline, our anniversary in July. He said he already has a plan and it'll happen before the end of summer. We didn't talk about what happens if he doesn't propose by then. But deep down, we both know what it would mean. I don't want to leave him. I love him. I don't want a ring for money or status, we both earn the same, and he owns nothing. I just want to know that he chose me. But if he doesn't follow through, I don't think I can keep waiting. I needed to get this off my chest. Update, thank you all for your comments. This is my first time posting something, and I didn't expect such a reaction, but I can also say that it made me realize I'm not very good at explaining what I'm trying to say. So, here are some answers to the most common comments. Why didn't I propose to him myself? Because we've talked about it, and he said he would never want a woman to propose to him, and that it should be the man's role. I understand that in such a situation, it wouldn't be our happy moment, but rather he would feel hurt or even humiliated. The ultimatum. That evening, we talked a lot about this topic. I explained in detail why marriage is important to me, and he completely agreed with what I said. He said he plans to propose, and I just asked when. He replied, soon, but for the past 2 years, he said, soon, so I asked for a more specific timeline and that I expect it before our anniversary. He said he's planning something, but it won't happen before the anniversary, but by the end of summer. I've never told him that it's an ultimatum, like either we get married, or we break up. We've never discussed what will happen if there's no proposal by summer. I don't think this is pressure. Even if someone sees this as pressure, if nothing changes in our relationship, why should I compromise and not do what's important to me? Isn't it he who should compromise and do something that's not as important to him? What kind of marriage will it be? I don't know. Everything is going very well in our relationship, and we're happy. A lot of people say I want to get married just because of pressure from others. No, I won't say that I don't feel that pressure or that it doesn't affect me. It does, but the main reasons are not about that. I've already done many things in my life that are not typical in my country and are judged by others. I've dealt with that, but it doesn't bother me as much. I mention this because today I was organizing a bachelorette party for my friend, and just seeing how happy she is in all the wedding hustle and bustle, I also want to experience that happiness in those moments. This post was just to express myself and to understand what I should do if the proposal doesn't happen. Stories number 24. I let a bar in my town borrow 2 pieces of my art, and when I went to pick them up the owner said he didn't know what happened to them. I let a bar in my town borrow 2 pieces of my art, and when I went to pick them up the owner said he didn't know what happened to them and that it's likely they were stolen. Any advice? So the title sums it up fairly well. I've struggled for years to get my art into local galleries around town, but the financial strain of submission fees has made it almost impossible. So I stupidly let a bar restaurant owner borrow my art for their wall. This was a little less than a year ago after they saw it on display at a vendor market we hosted on the pavement outside the establishment. The owner really liked my stuff and wanted to put it up, but he didn't want to buy it. I know, it was stupid, but I had been drinking that day and was desperate for someone to enjoy my art at the time. Anyway, fast forward to now. I went to the bar with a few friends the other day and noticed that my art wasn't where it normally was, saw the owner there and my buddy is good friends with him, so we went up and asked about it. He basically said that he didn't even notice they were gone. When I described the pieces he essentially said, "Oh yeah, I love those paintings, yeah they were probably stolen." Paraphrasing here. I told him how important they were to me and he was unapologetic about the whole affair. When I tried to make a deal with him he appreciated my gumption to ask but was uninterested in making it right. Is there anything at all that I can do? Or am I screwed and these paintings gone forever? Would love some advice on this. Super worried someone in town snatched and destroyed one or both. For context, I live in a pretty religious town and one of the paintings was a gay couple. Sum of comments. Commenter: oh, I wanted to add that I believe borrowing is different than showing. If they ask to hang it then I think they should pay a fair price. I would advise that you don't burn your bridges if you see interactions with them in the future. Maybe a sweet credit for the bar would work for both parties. Could be interesting. Reply: yeah, I asked him if he would be down to repay me with beer credits or something similar but he didn't seem interested. Commenter: do you have pictures of them? I'd post something to a local FB page and tag the bar saying they were stolen and you'd like them returned. A little public shaming might help things along. Reply: yeah, I have done this and I have a bunch of friends who are also friends with the bar owner reposting my pics, thanks for the advice. Commenter: so quite often in bars I will actually see art for sale. There'll be a little price tag on it. You should pop on by and see if any of the current art is for sale. My guess is it was a cash deal. Reply: yeah, his co-owner was supposed to email me to set up a sale price and stuff like that, he never emailed me. So that's another L for me. The timeline: yeah, I'm pretty sure it was about a year. New comment: I had been to the bar a bunch of times and even took some people to check out my art and they were always hanging up until now. Commenter: don't do that again without a paper trail and appraisal for AMT in case something like this happened. I'm a low-risk high-reward betting man. And if I had the chance to bet on this I absolutely would. They're hanging in his house, or vacation home or kid's home. A business owner that survived for some time is rarely that much of an airhead. He knows where everything came from and where it all went. OOP: yeah, I agree with you, this guy is co-owners with his brother and they own like 4 or 5 businesses in my town. I know he's not an idiot, he was definitely giving me the runaround. Update post. So I recommend checking out my previous post from our advice for the original story. Lots of comments saying the situation was a lost cause and to chalk it up to a good life lesson. Well, we'll see how lost this cause is. I know someone with experience dealing with the law, so they helped me take the next step after I read and considered all the comments on my last post. I went to the bar and talked to one of the bartenders who knows me and asked if they knew anything about the paintings. They said, no, I have no idea what happened to them, but we all loved them, they were amazing. I didn't know you were such a good artist. I resisted rolling my eyes at the flattery but moving on. I asked if the owner was there and they said yep, he's sitting inside, so I went and spoke with the owner about whether he had checked the storage rooms for the paintings like he promised and he said that they weren't in there. What the owner didn't know is I had a letter in my pocket for them that basically laid down an ultimatum. Pay me for the lost stolen paintings or return them by a set date. Well, I was nerve-wracked the whole weekend after hand-delivering that letter. This dude and his brother run about 4 restaurants in my town, so they're no slouch when it comes to business dealings, and needless to say, I was full of anxiety. On Tuesday the 23rd, I got a text from the owner's brother saying, and I quote, "We have your paintings on site. They were put in storage as we were decorating for the holidays." Very convenient. I was so excited when I got this text though. The owner had me convinced they were stolen, mind you. So to know they were safe and sound, despite being lied to my face, I was ecstatic. I went Wednesday to pick them up from the restaurant, and when I went to talk to the bartender, a different one than the previously mentioned one, they said something along the lines of, "I saw your friend's post about them being missing," and I was like, "That's weird, they're right here in the storage room." I played along to be polite cause I still didn't have the paintings in hand yet. But my gut knew the whole staff was in on this BS. Every single person's story has been different so far. Long story short, I have my paintings back. I've lost all respect for one of my favorite bars and have learned a valuable lesson about getting everything in writing. To the naysayers who told me I had no legal recourse, I hope you all have learned a valuable lesson as well. Your property is your property. Period. To all the people who encouraged me to go legal, I salute you. I didn't have to go to court or go to the police, but this letter definitely scared the shit out of these dudes. Thanks everyone for commenting on my last post and hope you all rest easy knowing the paintings are home now. LMAO. Edit. Linked pics of the artworks in the comments for those interested. Edit 2. I was at work and wasn't thinking straight, linking the paintings here now cause my brain works again. LOL. Sum of comments. Commenter. Next time, have a signed contract with the business, stating the value and that their insurance is liable for loss, theft, or damage. Reply. Yes, I got a lot of these comments on the other post. Lesson learned. Commenter. Awesome. Now make sure you let local artists know if they are dealing with anyone from their several businesses to have a good contract so their work doesn't get stolen by customers or misplaced. Reply. Definitely will. Thanks for the comment. Commenter. Kinda just sounds like the owner didn't know where they were because they had been moved by someone without any communication. Jumping to the conclusion that being told something false means you were intentionally lied to seems like a leap of bad faith. Reply. The stories just didn't add up in the moment. It's possible that it was all a misunderstanding. But my gut tells me otherwise. The very first thing the owner told me was that they were most likely stolen, not, maybe they're in storage. I was getting a lot of red flags all through the original conversation. Commenter. May I ask, was the letter from a lawyer? What was the gist? Reply. The gist was basically if I don't get these paintings or money by a set date then we gonna have a problem. Commenter. Could you go into the backstory inspiration behind these paintings? Reply. The kiss is really dorky but I'm a huge fan of an old show from the 60s called The Time Tunnel. The main characters get lost in time together and... Need I say more? I painted it to symbolize that feeling of resilience gay people needed to have in that era, and today TBH. The other was an angsty self-portrait I painted while working through some stuff. LOL. Not a whole lot to go into on that one. Thanks so much for your interest. Stories number 25. Aita for not caring if I made coworker late. I just wanted to happily vent because I am fine ending our carpool relationship. Wasn't my idea in the first place. I have PTO, I have an excellent attendance record, and I'm also good at my job, so if I decide to be late because of my cat, I can absorb the blow with no impact. So if I decide to be late or take a day off because of my cat, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Turnabout is fair play. Fair exchange ain't no robbery, and a million other things that my father used to say. The people in these comments let me know that people are way too comfortable with being disrespected and tucking their tail between their legs and walking away. You don't get to treat me a certain way then dictate how I respond. Those of you that live your life that way, more power to you, but I'm not the one. When I started my new job I found out that a woman who lives in the same complex as I do started working there as well. Her and I struck up a conversation and after a week we decided to carpool. It was great and a gas saver and it's been working out pretty much perfect. Except she has 2 kids that are really into some long goodbyes. Crying and whatnot while her husband makes a minimal effort to get them so we can go. When it's her turn to drive I have been late a couple of times because in her words the kids were having a meltdown and husband couldn't handle it so she had to calm them down before she left. I'm not talking majorly late, I'm talking into our grace period late, and I don't like to consistently abuse out grace period. Well, this morning when I bent down like I do every morning to say goodbye to my baby boy, he climbed out of his bed and curled up around my arm and put his head on me and went back to sleep. So I stayed there and I let him sleep for another 15 minutes. She was calling my phone and I kept telling her I was on my way. I finally got there and she asked me what happened and I told her and she got mad and asked me how I could make her late behind a damn cat. I told her we've been late before because of her children and she absolutely said that was not the same thing and I shouldn't be comparing it to that because that's just an animal. I said, well, that animal is my baby and any time that he needs me I'm going to be there, so if that is an issue I can understand if you don't want to carpool anymore. She didn't say anything else on the way to work, but I heard through office gossip how I made her late because of the cat. LOL. I'm fine with not carpooling with her anymore. He is 4 months old. He's about 3 pounds. He's a void, completely black with a little tiny bit of a whisper of white on his belly. He the cutest little thing. I wanted to post a picture but it wouldn't let me. His name is Lucky.